I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the August 2nd, 2023 Fitchburg Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission has 7 members. Members are citizens residing in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. This commission is appointed by the City Council and serves on a volunteer basis. The commission collaborates with the residents, businesses, and organizations to facilitate compliance with the 8 interests of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Fitchburg Wetlands Bylaw. Meetings of this commission are subject to and abide by the open meeting law. If you would like more information about any of these regulations, please ask a commissioner, the agent, or environmental consultant. Thank you for your commitment to the conservation of our natural resources. Thank you for your patience as we navigate this hybrid meeting. The commission requests that friends wishing to speak approach the podium and speak clearly into the microphone, and remote attendees maintain microphones on mute for privacy purposes. If you would like to speak, use the chat or raise your hand function to alert the chair of your intentions. Be advised this public meeting is being live streamed and recorded by Fitchburg Access Television. If a member of the in-person audience is recording this meeting, this is your opportunity to identify yourself for the public record. So we're going to call the roll first. Commissioner Baker.
Here.
Commissioner Christian.
Here.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Yep.
Commissioner Helene?
Hello.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye. Here.
Commissioner Satterfield in attendance. So, welcome residents and friends of Fitchburg, Massachusetts to our August meeting, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. We appreciate your interest in the conservation of Fitchburg's natural resources. There are multiple items on our agenda tonight, and many friends visiting us both in person and virtually. Quick explanation of the process. Once we determine if a meeting can open, we will first hear from the applicant, then take comments from the public, commissioners, consultant, DPW engineers as needed. As a member of the public, when called upon, please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. We ask that you keep your comments related to the jurisdiction of the Fitchburg Conservation Commission, which namely is water quality and water quantity. Please be brief to allow for all the residents to have an opportunity to speak. We're going to ask for that 2-minute mark, if you could be mindful of that 2-minute mark. The commission may then request a site visit, may continue the meeting. All these site visits, everything will be posted and open to the public at all times. As a friendly reminder, this process may take longer than you're expecting it to. Permits may also be submitted to other departments in the city, such as the Planning Board or the Zoning Board of Appeals. These are separate entities with their own process. So public hearings open when the abutter notices have been submitted and all state and local fees are paid in full. Do we have, oh, we lost her, Lynn. Okay. Sorry about that. We need to identify if everything is. The abutter notices have been submitted.
For?
Platinum Development?
Yes.
Tape Architects?
Yes.
IVJ Group?
Yes.
Oak Hill Country Club Solar LLC?
Yes.
And Mass DOT?
I have not received anything from Mass DOT.
Okay.
You got your...
What have you not received from Mass DOT?
The abutters list? Your abutters?
I was told by the people at Mass DOT that Mass DOT is not required to notify abutters for notice of intent. So we did not do that, and that explanation was included in our opening letter.
And the state and local fees paid in full. Platinum Development?
Yes.
Tape Architects?
This, yes.
IVJ Group?
Yes.
Oak Hill Country Club?
Yes.
Mass DOT, you guys are exempt, right? Okay. So under Massachusetts general law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, Platinum Development, LLC, 93 Gibson Road driveway crossing and single-family dwelling in the buffer zone. What do we... Oh. Good evening.
Trevor Fletcher with Graz Engineering.
Welcome, Trevor.
Thank you. All right, so last time we were all here looking at the plan, we had a plan for 4 culverts going under, and was brought to our attention that this project needs to be compliant with the stream crossing standards. And so we went back to the drawing board and we changed the design to a 72-inch pipe arch culvert that will be embedded in accordance with those stream crossing guidelines, and as well as all the other standards outlined in the stream crossing guidelines, such as openness ratio and the like. The entire plan is now shown, or the entire site is now shown on one plan, rather than having a couple different plans from different people like we had last time. And so everything should be a little bit more clear. We are proposing wetland replication as the prior Popham plans indicated. The stream crossing, the stream bed itself has a width of 5.5 feet right before and right after the stream crossing is being proposed. Therefore, it needs, per the stream crossing guidelines, it needs a span of 6.6 feet, and we are designed over that, so that is all compliant as well. We have introduced a couple other things as well, just to mitigate some stormwater effects, although the entire site is under the threshold for stormwater compliance through the stormwater ordinance, which is 20,000 square feet of disturbance. This project is, I believe, around 18,600, I believe. Yeah, 18,656. But just to make things a little bit better on the wide part of the driveway, right on the downhill side of it, we have proposed a small settling basin so that any sediment that is on the driveway or maybe tracked in from the road may go there and settle there prior to discharging towards the wetland. And we also proposed a dry well over by the house so that the roof drains can lead to the dry well and infiltrate into the ground. So we will have some recharge on site as well as some settling out. The entire site is lined with silt fence, and the proposed wetland replication is proposed with double silt fence to line that to protect the wetlands during the replication. With that, I will take any questions Commission or anybody else has.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this hearing, or would like to request more information? Please approach the podium or use the raise your hand function. State your name and address for the record.
We do have a hand raised online, but I'm not sure if the person is intentional or not. Just raise their hand.
Kylie, would you like to speak online?
No, I'm sorry. That was a mistake.
Thank you. Hearing none from the public, let's turn to the Commission. Any comments? Joyce?
Madam Chair, Mr. Fletcher, thank you so much for preparing the set of plans. We've been asking for this for months.
You're very welcome.
And it's now concise for what we were looking for. I do have one question. Mass DEP is not showing that this new plan has been submitted to them yet for review. Do you know if that's been submitted?
I have submitted that to Judith Smith directly. I was contacted, Kim at Mass DEP, I forget her last name, but she looked it up and she found that Judith was the one that reviewed it initially, and she said that that was the person to send it to. So I did send it directly to her, but I did not hear any response from her.
Okay, yeah, because they haven't posted anything online yet.
Okay.
So as long as it's been submitted,
Yeah.
then that's acceptable.
Okay.
So.
Mr. Smith, do you have any comments?
I do. Well, first a question. Is there a planting plan for the replication area?
We don't have a specific planting plan, but in our wetland replication detail, we do have some notes saying, just general species that should be planted in there. But not anything in particular, not a certain number of species or a certain call for species, but it's just a kind of a generalized replication note that we've used on prior submittals.
Okay, so the commission may want to, as part of their conditions, require the submission of a detailed planting plan to ensure the replication area complies with the replication guidelines from the DEP. I was also, another condition that the commission should consider is making sure, is having a registered engineer certify that the culvert was installed correctly. If they don't install that culvert at the correct depth as shown on the plans, it could be very problematic. It could, if they install it too high, then it won't function properly, and it could cause impounding of water. If they go too low, then there's not enough volume in the culvert, and you could potentially cause a flooding problem. So getting the correct elevation for the culvert is pretty critical. I did get an opportunity today to review the project against the DEP stream crossing standards, and I'm very pleased that they are now in compliance with the standards.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
That's all I have. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Commissioner Jacobs, did you get those extra conditions?
I did. So I would like to propose, if there are no other comments by any other commissioners, we have a draft of conditions that would be applied, which would be our standard conditions, some special conditions, typical how the fueling of, equipment is going to be handled, concrete trucks where they can be cleaned, erosion store wattles. I mean, those are all special conditions that apply because of the site. How much of the replication area needs to be sustained for 2 years, those kind of things. There will also be in this proposed condition perpetual conditions or ongoing conditions that will be no icing, no de-icing materials on the culvert, no snow shall be dumped in the stream. And the settlement basin, we're going to ask that be maintained in perpetuity. So as homeowners change, they will have to maintain that. If there are no other additions to these order of conditions, I would motion that, including the two that Tim just, provide a planting plan, and an engineer needs to sign off on the culvert installation. We will add those special conditions. But I would propose a motion to approve this project.
Mr. Donnelly?
Could we put a date, not a hard date, but on the culverts installation certification, so that we don't go beyond a faulty installation, we don't go forward before we take care of that. So the completion of the installation, the certification ought to follow it immediately.
So within 30 days of installing the culvert, we could have that
Well, they'd have
inspected?
they got a lot of work to do in 30 days.
No, in 30 days of installing the culvert, it would have to be signed off by the engineer.
Just to be sure, a lot of work can get done in that time. If they have to go back and do it, we might be either holding them up, or the cop may be getting ahead of the horse.
Do you want to say 7 days of installation?
Upon completion. And we're looking for elevation, that's about it, I thought.
And I'm sure they were going to contact us immediately when the culvert is going to be installed, and just to verify, because it's a lot easier to make changes to the culvert prior to, like you said, backfill.
So upon completion, the engineer will sign off that the elevations are correct as on the plan.
That's fine.
Okay, modified.
Second that motion that Joyce made.
All right, let's call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Helene?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you.
Okay. So We've had some requests to make some changes to the agenda tonight from the Mass DOT. They have another meeting to attend, so please, you're up. Under Massachusetts, oh, hold on. Yeah, okay. So we're all done with that one. Let's see. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, Mass DOT River Street Bridge Replacement, River Street. Please speak to the notice of intent.
Sure. So my name is Gregory Russo. I'm a wetland scientist with TRC. We're the environmental consultant supporting this project. So the focus of the notice of intent is actually a specific component of the bridge replacement project. The bridge replacement itself is exempt. However, the city of Fitchburg has requested, as part of this project, we replace a culvert that is adjacent to the bridge and comes out of the flood wall abutment of the bridge. And so this notice of intent is focused on the replacement of that culvert because we are proposing 1,341 temporary square feet of temporary impact to riverfront area, which overlaps also with borderland subject to flooding. 37 linear feet temporary impact to bank at the top of the flood wall, and approximately 150 square feet of temporary impact potential to land underwater in the form of a temporary coffer dam that will be installed at the base of the flood wall to protect the river as we excavate the wall to install the culvert, to replace the culvert. And so that is the project that we are presenting tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Russo.
You're welcome.
Let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this hearing, or would like to request more information? State your name and address for the record. Lucky for you, these people aren't here to talk about this, Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Do we have anybody?
Nick.
I
Okay.
should mention we do have people on the line from Mass DOT. I believe we have somebody from the city on, and we also have a representative from SVT, the construction engineer.
Thank you. Mr. Erickson?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you for having us in front of you tonight. I just wanted to speak in favor of this project. As was mentioned, the city requested that Mass DOT replace an existing 24 by 24 culvert that discharges through the downstream left wing wall of the bridge as part of this project. And that's done for two reasons. One, to restore drainage in this area, but it's also an integral part of our combined sewer separation project that we have going on in this area. And the next phase of our combined sewer separation work in the downtown area, which will be starting next construction season. Right now, we have a combined sewer overflow that discharges underneath the bridge. And as part of our combined sewer separation work, obviously, we need to separate out the stormwater from the sewer system. So instead of putting that outfall back underneath the bridge, we're proposing to move it to where the existing 24 by 24 inch culvert is located. However, that 24 by 24 inch culvert isn't large enough to support the volume of water that we plan to send to the outfall once we're done our current combined sewer separation work and the second phase of our combined sewer separation work. We're planning to add a lot of flow to this particular outlet from the Prospect Street area. So that's kind of some of the reason behind our request to Mass DOT, and they've been very gracious in working with us to incorporate this piece of the project into their bridge project, as opposed to having us do the work ourselves with our combined sewer separation work. So it makes a lot of sense the way that it's incorporated into this bridge project, just because of the proximity to the bridge work itself, and we're working on the combined sewer separation work upstream, which is a little bit removed from the river itself. So we thank Mass DOT for incorporating this work into their project. And I'd just like to highlight the additional benefit of this work is eliminating that combined sewage flow from entering the river. So that's definitely an environmental benefit that will directly result from this work.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Let's see. Hearing no more, let's turn to the commission. Do we have any commissioners that have questions for Mr. Russo or the others that are in attendance tonight?
Does Mr. Smith have any comment on?
I'm going to get
the
to him.
plans?
Yeah, I was going to go with any commissioners? Dr. Baker or Ms. Helene?
I accompanied Mr. Erickson and some others to the site a few months ago, so I don't have any issues with it.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to review a detailed plan, but conceptually, as Nick said, if it's part of the CSO project, it's got great environmental benefits. So, I mean, that's something that that'll help the water quality of the Nashua River. So, at least conceptually, it sounds like a very good project.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Madam Chair, I should have reiterated that all of the CSO separation work that the city's engaged in is a great thing for the city and for the quality of the water in the river. So I applaud what they're doing.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Commissioner Donnelly?
I'd like them to move forward implementing best management practices.
I'll second that.
Was that a motion?
That was a comment.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Do you have a motion?
I agree.
Can we have a motion and second to accept the notice of intent, Mass DOT River Street Bridge replacement?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion and a second. Let's call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye?
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Helene?
Aye.
And, Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield, aye. Vote is unanimous, and the motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Russo.
All right. Thank you all very much.
All right.
I don't want the audience getting the idea that everything goes this smoothly.
Not on your watch,
I
anyway,
know, they
right?
weren't here for all the rest of the stuff. Okay. Okay. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent. Tapé Architects, Fitchburg Public Library, 610 Main Street. Are they here for this tonight? Who do we have for this?
Oh, yeah, we have somebody here.
Got David.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, can you hear me?
Yes?
Hi, my name is David Conway of Niche Engineering in Boston. Thank you for having us tonight.
Mr. Conway, we've got, yeah, go ahead. Okay, just a second, Mr. Conway.
Apologies about that. Getting the cart before the horse. So my name is Matt Sturz. I'm a project manager with Colliers. We're the owner's project manager working on the Fitchburg Public Library project on behalf of the city. And we have some representatives on the line virtually this evening from Niche Engineering and from Tape Architects, who's our architect on the project. And so I'll let them speak to the technical aspects of our filing, but just wanted to say first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to present with you this evening. I do not have a presenting role tonight, but I wanted to be on hand in case there were questions that I'm positioned to answer. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Mr. Hoover and Mr. Conway from our design team to take it from here. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Conway?
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. My name is David Conway. I'm civil engineer, project manager with Niche Engineering in Boston. Full disclosure, I also grew up in Fitchburg, graduated from high school there, and this is actually the library I learned to do libraries in. I'm filling in for another project manager who's away on vacation, but I kind of jumped at the chance to jump in. So we're before you tonight for a renovation and addition to the Wallace Public Library, 610 Main Street. The resource area in question is bordering a land subject to flooding. And if I can share my screen.
I've promoted Mr. Conway to panelist so that he'll be able to actually, I have to do another button press.
Okay.
Just a moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Oh, and just need to enable the screen sharing, if you could.
Should be able to now.
You're good now, Mr. Conway.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. And if folks can see my screen, this is really just an anointed site plan, annotated site plan, colored a little bit just to I always forget that button. Colored site plan. So this is the existing front part, I would call it, of the Wallace Library. So this is the part that faces Main Street, is to be renovated. The rear section will be a new addition. And the area in question, so the isolated land, the bordering land subject to flooding, is an area in the rear parking lot below elevation 448, which is represented in this blue area. It doesn't extend to great depth on the property, and it is really actually a foot and maybe a foot and a half deep in the existing condition, and same in the proposed area. Quickly, the requirement for working in these areas outside of it, we don't have any wetland vegetation or bordering land, vegetating wetlands or anything like that, is basically to make sure we don't increase flood impacts. We're doing that by not decreasing the net storage below the flood elevation. We provided calcs in the submissions for that. I have another presentation plan really quickly if people want to see, just kind of lines that up. And then in addition to that, we are also decreasing the by a markedly amount the stormwater leaving the site by putting in modern controls for the project, including 2 new infiltration systems and full stormwater treatment for the site. In a quick nutshell, that is the project. I can go into greater depth or take you wherever else you'd like to go with this.
Does that complete your presentation, Mr. Conway?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Let's see. Let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this hearing, or would like to request more information? Please state your name and address for the record. Do we have anyone? No. There's no one online who's raised their hand. Hearing none from the public, let's turn to the commission. Do we have any commissioners that have any comments?
I would ask Nick how the parking lot handled July's rain events.
I didn't have any reported issues out there.
However, I wasn't out there paying attention to that parking lot in particular, to be honest. My attention was kind of directed to other areas of the city where we definitely had issues. But to my knowledge, nothing was reported out there, Commissioner Donnelly.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, do you have any questions?
Well, yeah, the obvious one, and maybe I missed it, but are you taking up any flood storage capacity, and are you providing compensatory storage?
We are not. We are increasing the flood storage capacity. So the calcs support that. We did a cut and fill on a foot-by-foot basis for the areas within the flood elevation, and we're increasing the compensatory storage.
Okay, so when you look at bordering land subject to flooding, right, there's, you look at the performance standards, there's one performance standard that deals with wildlife, and obviously that's not an issue here. But the other major one is the compensatory storage, and they, apparently that one, it's actually a benefit where there's more compensatory storage. So they're in compliance with the performance standards.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Dr. Baker, go ahead.
So I don't know whether this is for Mr. Conway or for Mr. Sturgis, but back about 5 years ago, I served on the Public Library Building Committee for a while. In fact, we hired Colliers and Tappe during that period. And there were some questions at that time whether Punch Brook, which is the brook that runs down Mechanic Street and then goes underground through the downtown area through assorted culverts, whether it might be under this property or not. Were you ever able to determine whether Punch Brook is there and is something to be concerned about or not?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Baker, I can't speak to that. Perhaps Matt can.
If Mr. Erickson is still on the line, he may be able to weigh in on that.
Yes, I am fairly confident that Punch Brook does not run anywhere around the library property. Unfortunately, there were a few folks from Weston and Sampson that were just on the call for the Mass DOT project that could have answered that with certainty. But there's one leg that pops out across from the DPW over on Broad Street, and there's another leg that pops out over by Riverfront Park. And we've traced that culvert extensively as part of our combined sewer separation design in that area, which is in progress right now. Just because we're going to be putting so many stormwater inputs into it, we need to verify its integrity. I know that we've coordinated well with Fitchburg State. They've got a project to construct a parking garage over across from City Hall, and there's a portion of the culvert that runs near there. Like I said, with 99.9% certainty, I don't believe that Punch Brook runs anywhere near the library property, but I can confirm that for sure tomorrow morning and let the whole team know.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson.
Madam Chair, if I could just ask Nick a question.
Yes, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, so I just looking at the plans, it looks like a pretty elaborate subsurface stormwater system. There are underground chambers to capture the stormwater. Have you had an opportunity to look at it, and any concerns about the maintenance of the stormwater system?
I have not had the opportunity to review the design calcs in depth. I do have concerns about maintenance with any underground infiltration system, and that's not specific to this project. I think in general, those types of systems are great for the first 5 to 10 years that they're installed, and then the success of those systems depends heavily on maintenance, cleaning them out, making sure that the dirt layers that the water's being infiltrated into don't clog up over time. And that's all very difficult to do from the surface. And in particular, many of these designs don't include good access down into the chambers to vacuum them out or et cetera. So I think those considerations should be taken into account when putting together a design. I haven't seen one yet that makes me feel warm and fuzzy about the long-term durability of the systems. That being said, as long as there's an overflow system designed that allows the system to bypass if the infiltration capacity ever fails, then I think that's a good fail-safe. Other than that, the systems kind of are what they are, and it would be good to design them around being able to access them easily.
Yeah, because the problem being that if they don't get the maintenance and they fail and there is a bypass, now you've just taken away the retention capacity that we've been banking on.
Right, and I agree 100%. And unfortunately, I haven't, the way the systems are designed to bypass in general, there's not an obvious failure point that shows itself and indicates that the system is in like a bypass mode, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it. So it really depends on someone frequently inspecting these systems on like an annual or more frequent basis. Usually we see these systems installed on the private side, so like a CVS, for example, and once they're approved through Conservation Commission or Planning Board or whatever it may be, then it's on CVS or whoever it is to maintain them, and the city doesn't really get involved with double checking to make sure that they perform that maintenance, make sure they're functioning. It's really only if there's some sort of a catastrophic failure that we would know that there's a problem with those systems, and we haven't seen any, to my knowledge, in recent years. As part of the city's stormwater ordinance and the city's stormwater rules and regulations, the owners and operators of these systems are supposed to have a professional engineer inspect them at least once a year, certify that they're working, et cetera. On the private side, those reports are supposed to be put together and furnished to the city. I've never gotten a single one of those reports from any one of these that we've ever approved. So I can't imagine that the library is going to hire a professional engineer and make sure that this is done and send me those reports on a regular basis unless someone's following up to make sure that they do those things. And we as DPW engineering could be given that task, but to be perfectly frank, we are understaffed and overwhelmed, and that's something that we're likely not going to have time to do. That's just, it's a very onerous task to keep up with all these things. So I don't know what I don't know what the proper solution is for that. Maybe it's something that can be built into the library's kind of maintenance of the building. And that would, I think, fall on the library staff to make sure that happens.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Conway.
So, Niche Engineering, TAPE, we do understand the burden of maintenance on public facilities. We do really just a lot of municipal projects. So these two systems, and again, just for clarification, there's no maintenance plan within the stormwater report. These two systems actually have what's called isolator rows, so the flows into them are into like one leg of these, and they're wrapped, and so that is and then there's access on either side plus inspection ports. So it's really meant to be able to be easily inspected by non-professional engineers. You can just undo a cover, look in if there's water, it's not working, and it needs to be cleaned, and then there's easy access to clean it out on both sides. That would have to be done by a company that would just jet it out. And we've had very good success with these types of systems, understanding that, in this urban location, we're kind of limited in what we can do without, taking away building footprint. But then also being very cognizant of that, just the limited resources municipalities have for being able to it's not all systems need to be maintained. This one, we've tried to make it as maintainable as we could.
Commissioner.
Madam Chair, if I could just ask another follow-up question. So if there's a maintenance plan, does the maintenance plan identify whose responsibility it is to do the maintenance?
It's his owner, right? But realizing that the owner is the library and the city, if we can adjust that however you want, but it just identifies the owner as it, not a particular person, because that not people won't be working here forever.
Right. It may be just even a role, just because the fact is that if the maintenance doesn't happen, then the system's not going to function as designed, and then it'll be out of compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act.
Right.
So we want to ensure that follow-up maintenance happens.
Right. And then just a quick side too is the system on Main Street has a visible overflow if it was ever to fail, and then the one on Boulder Drive does it. You'd have to actually look into like a pop a cover to see if there's water in the system or
not. Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
He was hand raised.
Oh, you have your hand raised. Is this from before?
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to lower my hand. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Sturgis, do you have any feedback on the operation and maintenance plan, and who's going to be identified to perform the maintenance check on this?
I would advise that I think that needs to be part of the certainly conversations with the library, and then they would designate who they would. It certainly is a city maintenance task. We would identify who that was by role, not by individual, as Mr. Conway was advising.
Okay.
And if it helps, we could do the training once the system's installed for that person.
Is there an operations and maintenance plan that's been submitted?
Not that has, there as part of that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Conway. Well, to the commission, do you want to perform a site visit on this one, or do you feel comfortable? Do you need more information to make a determination? Anyone?
My comments are the architects have designed something for the city, an elaborate system, and I think absent the city's track record of an ability to maintain an elaborate system. An expensive car costs money to maintain, and we don't have a track record of being able to do that economically. So can we afford the system that you've designed? And if we can't, and 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, we own it, we're required to maintain it, inspect it is one thing, fix it upon inspection is another. And so we're being asked to approve something that there's no fallback on seeing that'll operate 5, 10, 15 years from now. We may not have the wherewithal to maintain it. I hate to say it, but I told you, 700-page report on water, right? I think it's either a bad plan for the library or a bad law, Wetlands Protection Act. I don't know how we can approve it if it could fail the Wetlands Protection Act 5 or 10 or 15 years from now with nobody to fix a failed system. Not a failed system, but an overloaded system, a system in need of repair.
Well, Commissioner Donnelly, maybe the solution would be to impose an order of conditions whereby maintenance is required, routinely, and then preventative maintenance will prevent that kind of a situation from arising.
Respectfully, unenforceable.
Well, maybe, but at least if we put people on notice that it's an important thing to add to their list, perhaps it'll get done and the city will be spared the expense of having to deal with a failure.
I would agree with that. I think Ralph's right. I mean, what's going to happen 5 or 10 years down the road, it's hypothetical, but we need to proceed in the meantime. And we can add a condition to it and enforce that condition as a perpetual or an ongoing condition in their order.
I do like the idea of identifying whose role it's going to be, because I could see where you would have a librarian say, that's not my job. And you wouldn't want to have a librarian doing this. They're trained to do other,
That would not be the intent.
But perhaps there must be a maintenance person at the library. And
Is there any other option? We're being asked to vote for something. I agree with Mr. Donnelly. We know it's going to fail. It's not going to be kept up, and it's the city. So how are you going to enforce the cities?
If we heard we have the personnel or the money to do it today, we can look forward to having the personnel and the money to do it in the future, but.
So Ralph said he was on like the library building committee. Like maybe that should be like a standing topic on their agenda once annually. I don't know if that falls under their purview either, but.
Yeah, I think, Mary, I think the purpose of the committee was just to get the ball rolling and oversee this project, not to be a perpetual committee.
Okay. It's just a matter of keeping people informed, out past 10 years from now. To do the maintenance. You just never know when a job is going to change hands. And
yeah, Nick may have a suggestion. His hand is up.
Yeah. Liz is here, and then we'll go to Mr. Erickson. Ms. Murphy.
Thank you. Liz Murphy, Executive Director of Community Development and Planning. We do at City Hall have a facilities manager. So that person can be, I would think it would be appropriate for that person to be monitoring this.
Excellent.
So that could be in the order, in the condition.
Right, we could issue as an ongoing condition that a stormwater maintenance plan needs to be developed detailing who and how often maintenance will be performed on the stormwater management.
Mr. Erickson?
Thank you. I do agree with Liz Murphy. We have a facilities person at City Hall who's responsible for city facilities. I think it would be a fantastic idea to have a citywide stormwater BNP inspection contract whereby we assign all of the stormwater BNPs to whoever the contractor might be to come out and have a registered professional engineer inspect them and make recommendations for maintenance and whatnot. I also wanted to point out that Crocker School, that's being the new school that's being built, a similar system was approved for that project. And I'm fairly certain that there's at least one or two others associated with municipal buildings that have been approved in the past in other areas of the city. So it would benefit the city kind of forcing this issue as a result of this project through the order of conditions so that, we deal with it, because in my opinion, it's kind of a problem that we've been turning a blind eye to for a couple of years. I don't think it's going to be a great cost to the city. And I think it's going to go a long way to make sure that these stormwater BMPs that are now required by the Massachusetts stormwater regulations and our EPA MS4 stormwater permit are
being constructed and maintained properly and providing the environmental benefits that they were intended to provide. I guess that's all I'd like to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson.
All right, then, Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we propose to have Mr. Smith write such an order of condition for stormwater BMPs and approve them.
Is that a motion, Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Seconded.
Thank you. Let's call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Halim?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. The gentleman from the next hearing from the IVJ group has graciously offered to swap places with the notice of intent for Oak Hill Country Club. So we'll go ahead and here's the. Hi, Mr. Rowe.
Fantastic.
So, under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent. Oak Hill Country Club. Sorry about that. Oak Hill Country Club. Solar LLC, Oak Hill Country Club, Shea Street. Please speak to the notice of intent. Mr. Rowe.
Well, good evening, everybody. For the record, my name is Jamie Rowe. I'm employed by the firm of Haley Ward, formerly Whitman and Bingham Associates. My client this evening is actually Luminia Solar, and they are proposing a solar facility, ground mount, large project on Oak Hill Country Club's land. And Oak Hill Country Club owns basically two large pieces of property, one on the west side of Oak Hill Road, one on the right side of Oak Hill Road. And we are talking about the property on the right side, or the east side of Oak Hill Road, that's approximately 118 acres. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you received the email today with the certified abutters cards.
Yes.
And would you like the originals, or is the email sufficient?
Do you have them with you?
I do.
Okay. It's okay. You brought them. I'm good. It's nice to see you. Okay. And all the fees, they said all the fees were up to date? Yes. Okay, Mr. Rowe, let's explain to us how you'll be meeting the performance standards for this project.
All right, so just let me go through a few things, and then we'll go through the where the project applies to the Wetlands Protection Act. So this project is going to be requiring two local permits. It's going to be the Conservation Commission because we're working in the buffer zone, and it's going to be a planning board special permit and site plan approval hearing. I believe that's scheduled for August. So making sure everybody here understands it's going to be a two-part process. We're here this evening to talk about the Wetlands Protection Act and the buffer zones and how we're going to protect the wetlands during construction. And specifically, as I stated before, the lot that we are concerned about is on the screen right there. It's on the east side of Oak Hill Road and on the west side of Shea Street. And that property is about 118.66 acres. The lot on Shea Street has approximately 1,802 feet of frontage. It's zoned rural residence. And that's important because in the city of Fitchburg, and this was a couple of years ago, the planning department and the city council passed a new ordinance in town limiting where these large solar projects can be placed within the city of Fitchburg. And rural residence is one of the zoning districts that was included in the zoning amendment. Rural residence, along with commercial, industrial, adaptive industrial, and university districts. So it's an approved use within this zone. In particular, the way we set out to design this project is we built it from Shea Street to the west. And in the zoning code, it provides minimum setbacks for a solar facility. And it has a front yard setback of 100 feet to the panels, which we meet. It provides for a 100-foot setback on the side and rear yard as well. And right now, we exceed that. We're proposing 150. Along the solar facility, this piece of property where it abuts a residential house, we're also providing a 50-foot natural buffer zone. The entire facility will be fenced in. Right now, we're proposing a wooden fence in the front with arborvitaes for visual effects. And on the left and right and rear side of the solar facility, we're proposing a chain link fence. From the fence towards the property lines, there's going to be 100 feet of clearing. We're going to cut the trees, leave the stumps, and leave the ground cover. We're not going to disturb the ground. Where this applies to the Wetlands Protection Act, if you look on the screen, this is the right side of the property on Shea Street. The first thing we did when we set out to start designing this project is we flagged the wetlands. The wetlands were delineated by Mary Ann DePinto, and she placed flags with numbers along the edge of wetland. We surveyed them, put them on the plan, did a topographic survey, and then we started designing. When we started designing, we kind of designed this as we did the Alpine Road Solar project as well. Alpine Solar was basically out of the buffer zone entirely. Couldn't make this project out of the buffer zone entirely, but we could make sure that none of the solar project is in the buffer zone. So no panels, no utilities are in the buffer zone. All we're doing is 50 feet between the 50-foot buffer zone and the 100-foot buffer zone, we're going to be cutting some trees. And we're going to leave the stumps, and we're going to leave the ground cover. So we're actually here filing a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission to clear trees, cut trees. That's all we're doing in the buffer zone itself. When we cut the trees and we're going to leave the stumps and not disturb the ground, because we're clearing the trees, we have one of the plans, I believe it's Plan 5 of 8, it's the erosion control plan. And we're going to be placing hay bales or wattles along with silt fence, probably at the 50-foot buffer zone, and that's going to protect any potential erosion from going inside the wetland itself. Plus, it has a natural 50-foot buffer from the edge of wetland out 50 feet. A little history along Shea Street. Everybody knows, and it's the elephant in the room, I'm sure, that there was a lot of flooding over the years. And the city of Fitchburg was very successful in receiving a FEMA flood mitigation grant several years ago. In the planning stages of that grant, I did receive a phone call from Lenny Laxo and Nick Erickson. And part of the phased approach, so to speak, was after they did several phases, the last phase of this flood mitigation grant that they wanted to design and construct was a detention swale on the west side of Shea Street. And the only way they could do that is approaching Oak Hill Country Club, asking for an easement. So they gave me a call. They knew I was associated with Oak Hill. I set up the meeting, and we went through the process. And it was a very, very cooperative process between Oak Hill and the city of Fitchburg, where, in the end, Oak Hill Country Club granted an easement to the city of Fitchburg to basically construct the detention swale that you see there today on the west side of Shea Street. And I'm hoping it's working fine. I don't know if it is or isn't, my apologies. I don't visit that site too often. So part of the plans that we filed with the Conservation Commission, even though the solar facility is not in the buffer zone, we're not hiding the fact before the commission we're doing a solar project, right? Knowing we have to go to the planning board. So part of the site plans that are before you, although it's not in the jurisdiction, is along that detention swale that the city of Fitchburg designed, permitted, and constructed. We're going to be expanding that, making that a little bit bigger to take into account the extra flow as a result of the solar project. And so it'll handle the additional flow going into that detention swale. In speaking with Nick Erickson earlier in the week, knowing that Nick basically reviews plans in the drainage report for the city, Concom, and Planning Board, we had a nice conversation about that. And I told Nick that because of the visibility of this project and because of what happened on Shea Street with all the flooding, I have no issues with going to a third-party review. I think it's the best thing we could do. So I recommended to Nick that we do a third-party review, and he said he would call the planning department to get that ball rolling, which I'm sure it has been. So a peer review engineer will be selected probably in the next week or two, I'm hopeful. And then we'll go through that peer review, and I will share that peer review with the Conservation Commission as well, obviously with the Planning Board. And there'll be some back and forth, there always is with peer reviews. And if we can make some modifications to make this detention swale operate a little bit better, prevent flooding on Shea Street, and enlarge that volume storage that it's supposed to have, again, I told Nick Erickson we'd be happy to do that as well. So that's where we stand. I know it's actually common practice for the Conservation Commission to hold a site walk after we have an initial meeting here, and I'm happy to meet you on a Saturday, Sunday, or after 4 or 5 o'clock, walk the property. If you'd like to have Mary Ann DePinto present, that'd be great. I'll give her a call, and she can walk the whole entire edge of wetland she delineated and explain her methodology, if that's what you'd like. But I don't expect the peer review report to be completed, 30, 45 days. I think it's going to be 4 to 8 weeks. That's normally what it takes. I don't know what it's going to be, but I would expect that to be ready sometime in September. And then we have our first planning board meeting the end of August. Again, we'll do the presentation with them, and then we'll wait till the peer review report comes in, make some plan modifications, and hopefully in September we'll have some revised plans for you to really take a look at and hopefully give me your opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak? Hold on. Chair's going to recognize you, so just a second. Councilor Kuchar, you want to state your name and address for the record?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Andrew Kuchar, Ward 3 City Councilor, 64 Farmer Ave, Fitchburg, Massachusetts. I've come here this evening to speak vehemently against this project for my constituents on the Shea Street and the adjoining streets. Thank you. I have gotten dozens of emails, dozens of phone calls against this project, and I, for one, am 100% against this project. We have seen time and time again these solar farms and these solar projects ultimately fail. And I know, Ms. Jacobs, you have been a victim of the failed Solar Mad River project as well, which shows a deluge of water coming through onto her property and onto the adjoining residents' property. We cannot have this anymore. Shea Street has always had a problem with flooding. In fact, the gentleman actually, surprisingly, he did mention that almost a decade ago, the city of Fitchburg was able to obtain FEMA funding for a project in order to mitigate the flooding situation up on Shea Street. Although that was a great help, it was not 100% success. In fact, it was a couple of weeks ago, we actually had a resident on Shea Street in a kayak going down the river, which was Shea Street. This project is only going to compound on that problem. It's going to be a flooding issue for the people on Alice, the people on Cathy. In fact, I actually had an email from a resident on Cathy Street who wanted me, and I'm currently talking with Commissioner Erickson and the people of the city about maybe expanding the drainage on Cathy and Shea and whatnot, because obviously with the excessive amount of rain that we have gotten over the past month or two, those drainage systems aren't working. So having this project go through is only going to cause more problems. I'm going to have residents with flooding issues in their basements, which, thank God, the remediation process that we did, about a decade ago, alleviated that situation for the most part, not completely. But obviously, this project is going to put them right back where they were. And that's something that we cannot have here in Fitchburg. We don't go backwards in Fitchburg, we move forward in Fitchburg. And this is not moving forward. This is setting my residents back on Shea Street. So we vehemently oppose this, and we ask the commission to please deny this. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Joe Bowen. I'm a resident of 53 Fairview Street in Fitchburg, and Councilor Kuchar is definitely echoing the sentiments that I've heard with the residents in the neighborhood as well. The flooding is definitely a major issue on Shea Street, and I do believe that it will continue or potentially get worse without some action taken to prevent that. But furthermore, the residents have a host of other reasons why that this project is not good for them, and I would encourage you to consider the matters with regarding to the excessive water that could still come from this project as a part of your decision tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lenny Laxo of 31 Gloria Ave in Fitchburg. My family and I live about 200 feet from the proposed project. When I was the DPW commissioner, we applied to FEMA to address the flooding problem that had existed on Shea Street ever since the neighborhood was built in the 1960s. That was before the days of the Wetland Protection Act and conservation commissions, and that part of the neighborhood wouldn't have even been built according to the current rules. But anyway, it was built. It flooded for about 50 years until we were able to get that grant from FEMA. It won't withstand a Noah's Ark type flood, but we designed according to the FEMA rules, which was a 100-year storm. And since the project was built 7 or 8 years ago, we had no problems until last month when Shea Street flooded 3 times. And the problem really isn't a 24-hour rainstorm. It was the extreme intensity that we got with 2 1/4 inches of rain in 1 hour and almost an inch in 10 minutes. So that it did overflow and flood out Shea Street. So many of the neighbors and myself are concerned about the impact of the project on runoff into the swale, and will it be possible to control the runoff with many acres of solar panels that will immediately shed the rain instead of retaining it. So I'm pleased that there's going to be a third-party review to look into those issues. And as Jamie Rose said, I'd just like to thank Oak Hill Country Club for cooperating back when we were designing that project, and they did provide the easement to the city at no cost. So it's a good sign that we can work cooperatively with them. Another issue to keep in mind is that the project area is tributary to Leominster's water supply at No Town Reservoir. When we planned the flood project, we had to keep Leominster informed, and I'm assuming that that will be done for this project if it hasn't been done already. Then one other note, Jamie mentioned that it'll be a wood fence. The plans currently show the chain link fence plus deciduous trees, so I'm glad that you're going with the conifers to provide a year-round buffer, so I hope the plans get updated to show those things.
The plans actually reference arborvitae's right now. Okay. A 7-foot wooden fence.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laxo. Who's next? Raise your hand. Who's next? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jim Richard. I live on 52 Autumn Drive, about 60 yards from Shea Street project. The detention walls, 40 years ago I came in front of the city council. I took pictures of the areas, and my son, who is 4 or 5, if he stood under a swing set, which was across the street from us, he would have been 1 to 2 feet. The water was over his head. Since this project was done, it has helped a lot. 2 weeks ago on the Sunday morning, our backyard had 2 to 4 feet of water. It looked like a little pond. Across the street from me was the first time since they've done this renovation, that area that I took the picture of the swing set was flooded again quite a bit. It wasn't as much as before, but it was flooded. The retention wall that was there, the water was running over 1 to 2 feet. And the water was coming into Shea Street, and I happened to be passing by, and I was going to take a picture of it, but I was too scared to get stuck in the water, to be honest with you. I was in my car. The ducks like it. They settle for 1 or 2 days, and then the water drains out. My question is, with the runoff when we have the big rains, what would be the water runoff amount of water that we would get in our backyards and on the street? It's very scary because without trees, you're not going to hold nothing back. But I'm sure someone can educate me on what the water runoff would actually be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richard. Go ahead.
Scott Hughes, 74 Autumn Drive, and all you guys have brought up wonderful points with the water overflow and all that. My bigger concern, and might be one that you guys might be concerned with as well as, your job. Who's responsible for this?
Thank you.
Who is responsible for this when this goes belly up? Who are we suing? Is it going to be Oak Hill? Is it going to be San Diego? Is it going to be you guys on the list because you voted yes for it? Who is going to be responsible for it? Who? Because at some point, it's going to go. Whether it's a flood or you got solar panels that aren't maintained and they're leaking chemicals into the ground right into No Town Reservoir, by the way. Do you guys want the Flint, Michigan? Is that what you guys want? You apparently already had a problem with this. Who pays that bill? And who's going to stand behind it? Because if you're voted into these positions, you're not getting votes again. Not from anyone in here. And if the mayor votes for it, he's not getting one either. And I'll damn well fight my way against all of you. So go ahead, vote yes. Go ahead, make this a good thing. You're going to ruin my sight, my view out of my living room. It's their property. They can do what they want with it. You guys have the power to shut it down, though. Who pays the bill when it comes coming? Because we will have to pay with flood damage and possibly leakage of chemicals into our ground. What are you guys paying? Thank you.
Who's next? Go ahead. Thank you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
My name is Grace McGurk, and I live at
Ms.
73.
McGurk, will you put that microphone so we can hear you? Thank you.
Like that? My name is Grace McGurk, and I live at 73 Autumn Drive. I wonder what this is going to do to our property values. Who wants to look out their door and look at solar panels?
Thank you, Ms. McGurk.
Madam Chair, councilors, commissioners, my name is Marty Lassard. I'm 425 Teresa Street.
Sir, can you? Thank you.
118 acres.
118 acres on the west side of Oak Hill.
That's about 5 million square feet. Probably 4,000 mature trees. I'm talking Oak Hill, so we'll use oak trees as an example. An oak tree consumes 150 gallons a day. Times 4,000 trees is 600,000 gallons. Where's the water going to go? Solar panels do not absorb water. They actually cause the area around it to increase in temperature on an average of 30 to 40 degrees higher than the ambient temperature around it. So it's actually a small little heating zone. Everybody's talking about global warming. A project of this size, although it might not affect globally, it is going to detract and deter from the livelihood of animals that currently reside there. So my question is if this is approved and we have 600,000 gallons of water coming down, add to that a torrential rainstorm like we had a couple weeks ago, and the people on Shea Street are not going to be concerned about a little bit of water in their basement. They're going to be concerned about the water coming through their front windows. That's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sam Squalia, Fitchburg City Council at Large, 225 Scott Road. The existing stormwater management system at the base of Oak Hill, Shea Street system, is already inadequate for the flow that it currently sees without any change. And the proposed 118-acre solar project will represent approximately a 70-foot elevation change downhill towards Shea Street, with the clear cutting of trees and vegetation for approximately 14,000 solar panels. The vast majority of the soil type, as indicated in the information given, is a fine sandy loam at 0 to 8% slopes. The stormwater increases generated by this tree cutting with the 70-foot elevation change with 14,000 panels of impervious surface will result in stormwater flowing even faster and stronger to the already overly saturated and inundated system areas of Shea Street. So the stormwater management, if this project proceeds, needs to be carefully reviewed and designed to a maximum, I would suggest. In addition to the visual screening, it's noted, right, so it's a 70-foot elevation change, and all the people from the neighborhood in the adjacent residential district, according to the zoning ordinance 181.543, residential districts shall be screened from non-residential uses, solar panels, by means of plantings or maintenance of trees of a species hardy to the area and appropriate for screening, spaced to minimize visual intrusion. So I'd like you to keep in mind the visual intrusion of solar panels going up that hill, and to ensure that we comply with the zoning ordinance, that we ensure that they are planting trees such that there is minimal visual intrusion, which sounds rather complicated. Thank you.
Thank you. No, let's finish the people who are here. Do we have anyone else who'd like to speak? Go ahead, orange shirt. Thank you. I mean, no disrespect, I just don't know you.
Orange.
Please tell us your name.
Oh, my name's Mike. I live at 52 Burma Road.
Mike.
Birch.
Thank you.
And the reason I'm here is I have dear friends that live on Shea Street, and they contacted me, and we were talking, we see each other all the time, and they were saying about this project coming up. And I'm a commercial drone pilot. And I went up there a couple days ago and I took photos, and essentially what they're proposing is going to be vegetational genocide. And the fact that you cut a tree down, that it's not going to affect the ground, deterioration is going to move at a much more rapid rate. It's just going to kill the area. For what? And if you have any questions, or if you want to see the footage that I've taken, or if you want more footage, contact me, and I'm more than happy to do that. I'll do that on my own dime for you, because I feel very strongly this is wrong. And this is, once again, you know, I can't blame Oak Hill, but they should know better. You know, we need to be better to our neighbors, to ourselves. You know, we got one planet. And obviously, the way things have gone this summer and this past winter, it's crazy. So why would you chop down a whole boatload of vegetation, just butcher it, to put up solar panels that will leak? And nobody's addressing the other problem. The standards, the international standards are, depending on the type of solar panel, should it be 200 meters away from a resident or 500 meters, depending on the panel. If you look at planetcafe.org, it has all the information in there. So not only are you hurting the ground, but you're potentially hurting the people. And there's already pretty much recognizable cancer rate up there. The last thing you need is more EMFs. You just don't need it. It's a whole lot of problems that we just don't need. And for what? And at the end of the day, who does it truly benefit? The citizens of Fitchburg benefit, or is it Oak Hill Country Club?
Oak Hill Country Club.
And it's pretty sad when you think about the membership at Oak Hill Country Club. I would venture to say about 80 to 85% are out-of-town members. Okay, they don't live here. They don't have to live with the results. You brought up the library about the brook and what, you know, I think tougher questions need to be asked, and I think to put up a solar panel farm that could leak, how are they going to prevent it? What is the maintenance plan? You're kind of our last line of defense. These poor people are taking a beating. And I will commit to them that I will do any level of drone work to help them out. Because this is just wrong. You know, the city, you know, I don't know what the answer is, and I know it's a tough job, and I know there's a lot of pressure from all sides, but let's be reasonable. To cut down 118 acres of trees for corporate greed? Nah. We've gone through that already. We need to be better, we need to be smarter. The question is how do we do that? You know, these poor people get flooded out. I was up there. That guy kayaking, I couldn't believe it. It was insane. So, like I said, if you need something, you call me. I'll be more than happy to do it. If you want to go and do it at a time and want specific photos, I'm more than happy to do that. Just reach out to me, and I'll be glad to do it for you. Because I think these people deserve better. Because if they do it to them, trust me, they'll have no problem. I live a mile away from my friends on Shea Street. The city will have no problem doing it to me. So this is just not a Shea Street, Jesus Street, Autumn Drive problem. This is a Fitchburg problem. And we should be watching out for our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Birch. In the back. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Greg Moran, and I'm a former resident of 60 years on Pearl Hill Road. and I'm defected to Westminster. But I've been a Oak Hill Country Club member since 1967, and I really enjoy the club. But I agree 100%. You know, you got to take care of your neighbor, and it's just a bad idea.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Who's next? Raise your hand or stand up, please, so the chair can acknowledge you. Thank you. This gentleman right here, and then we'll go with the next person.
Dan Cody. I live on 400 Cathy Street. And one question I have that I don't have on a sketch here is, where is this solar farm going to be accessed from?
Go ahead, Mr. Rowe, if you'd like to answer.
That's fine. So the gravel driveway is going to be constructed on the left side of the property along Shea Street, left front.
On the left side on... Now, it's going to enter...
Please, we can't hear
Sarah,
anything
yeah?
if you're talking.
You have a right-of-way right off of Oak Hill Road between, I can say the old people that lived in these houses, there's two houses there, and it looks like there's a right-of-way right in between those houses off of Oak Hill Road. Why not utilize that as your access to the solar farm?
The access to the solar farm will be from Shea Street.
You didn't answer my question. Why couldn't it be?
It certainly could. We've decided that it's going to be accessed from Shea Street.
Really? Now, you tore down the old garden mansion on the top of Oak Hill Country Club. Why not just put the solar farm there? Yes. You got plenty of clear land up here. You know why? Because the members don't want to see a solar farm while they're shagging their balls. Yeah. Amen, brother. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Cody. Who is next? Go ahead. Thank you.
My name is Christine Breton. I live at 484 Shea Street. I've lived there my whole life. This is not a conservation issue, but I just want to bring up the fact that we have access to Route 2 from two streets. So there's always a lot of traffic coming down Shea Street. We have towers on Shea Street. What are you putting solar panels there? I'm going to propose that we change Shea Street to the Shea Street Industrial Park. It's just going to begin to look like that way. And I'm against this also.
Thank you, Ms. Brennan. Did you have a comment?
No, I'm sorry. I just grabbed a tissue. Sorry. Okay. I apologize.
That's okay. Please, I hear a lot of comments. We encourage you to speak. If you don't feel comfortable speaking in public, please, you can email the community development, and we'd be happy to take your comments into the public record. Commissioner Kuchar, do you have something to add? No. Okay.
We have two participants.
Okay, we're going to get to the people that are virtual. Go ahead, sir.
Bernie Schultz, City Councilor at 91 Seneca Street. I was approached today by Mr. and Mrs. Bajo and Mr. and Mrs. Richard, and they're very concerned about the removal of trees. They think it's going to add quite a bit of water to the area. And as Mr. Richard described, he doesn't need any more water in that area. So I just wanted to mention that, and thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Seneca. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. I'm Warren Tuscola, 32 Gloria Avenue. We feel like this was sprung on us. We really didn't know about it until one of my neighbors happened to look at the agenda for this meeting And this is a massive undertaking. I was involved in an effort with a few of my neighbors to pass out flyers around the neighborhood to let people know what was going on. And most of the time we just tucked them in the door and walked away. But there was one woman who was outside when I was passing them out, and we talked for quite a while. She had experienced basement flooding during the July storms. And she asked me, does this mean that we're going to have to get flood insurance? And, you know, a lot of us are in our retirement homes. Flood insurance would be prohibitively expensive, but, you know, that may be what it comes to if this project goes through. So, needless to say, I am opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cheskola. Who's next? We want everyone to have a chance to be heard. That is what we're here for. We respect your comments. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak? We have some people. Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm Gail Clark, and I live on Shea Street, right across from the land that they're planning on doing this. And I have been there 28 years now, and I think I've only seen them clean the drains maybe 2 or 3 times. This weekend they cleaned them 3 times. Why, I don't know. It stopped raining weeks ago, probably because of the flooding that we had, but nobody takes care of that property. It's very unkept all the time. They did the drainage thing. That really helped, because when I first moved there, the water would be over the roofs of the cars, because I would direct people up to Kathy Street and around, and before the city would get there and put the horses down to block them. That's how high the water was. It was way over your head at that time. And now, this time it's just kayak rideable, I guess. I don't know what you call it. But nobody maintenance the land very well. So that's all I got to say. And I'm against it too.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Thank you.
My name is Peter, and I live at 20 Jane Ave. I'm against this because if you take out 118 acres of trees that, like the one gentleman earlier over there talked about how much trees drink water, and you put a man-made material there catching water, just falling on soil, rocks, ledge, whatever is going to be under there, it all goes downhill. So the money bags at the top of the hill, the golf course, and maybe his company, whoever he represents, are trying to drown the peasants at the bottom of the hill, and we don't need any more water in our basements. So I'm against it because I already have water in my basement. And that all started when they built the condos on the other side of our neighborhood. When they blasted the ledge out of there, it used to shake our foundations. And I live almost on Shea Street, and that was up the upper end of my neighborhood. I could feel it down there. And then that, I believe, broke pipes in the ground to the catch basins, which half of the catch basins, if you drive around in a heavy rainstorm, the water will not go to each and every catch basins because the streets are so uneven. It all goes down. There's a pile of sand across from my street in front of one of my neighbors from the last 2 heavy rains. And they've already come and swept our streets with the street sweeper program. And kids would love it if they could go play in the sand in the street because it's probably that thick, just washing down. Because somebody's yard up on that Kathy Street let go, and the fence fell down, some rocks fell down that were trying to hold up the yard. So if we add this project to the other side of the valley, we might as well make it Fitchburg swimming pool. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir?
Can I repeat something, one thing, please?
Yes. Mr. Richard? Was it
Yes,
Mr.
thank
Richard?
you. Good memory. Jim Richard, 52 Autumn Drive, Fitchburg. Maybe we're forgetting the local residents who have lived there. I happen to be there for about 48 years. When Oak Hill had some trees cleared, does anyone remember what happened the next year after the trees were cleared? The extra floods? No one?
Wasn't here yet.
Weren't they yet?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay. But we did have a surplus of water that came down after they cleared those trees. Very interesting. Now they're going to clear them all? Interesting.
Thank you, Mr. Richard. Do I have anyone else? Anyone else that feels comfortable speaking? If you don't feel comfortable speaking in public, you're welcome to send an email to the community development and have your comments be placed into the record. But we do have some people visiting us from remote, and I'd like to get to them, but I would like to give you all the chance to talk if you'd like to take it. If you hear something that the people who are visiting us remotely have to say and you'd like to talk about it afterwards, just let us know. But if no one would like to speak, I'm going to switch over to the friends that are visiting us remotely. I'm looking around, nod your head. Sure, come on up. No, I'd like you to come up here on the, is this Peter? Yes.
Dan Cody.
Oh,
And
I'm sorry.
question, all the plans that are going to be proposed for this, are those going to be uploaded on the portal, the City of Fitchburg portal? That we can review any plans on our own computers?
Oh, they are now.
They are now.
They are now?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I just heard about this last week, so, okay, thanks.
Just to be clear, everything that the Conservation Commission does is completely open and transparent. Any information you'd like to have is posted on our website. Anything you'd like to have, you just need to ask for it. We'll be able to provide it to you. If there's no one else visiting us in person, we'd like to switch over to our remote attendees. Anything else, please? If you'd like, we can come back to you afterwards. Who do we have on remote? People are waiting patiently, and we thank you for that.
We have Mr. Philip Cochran.
Mr. Philip Cochran?
Yes, my name is Philip Cochran, and I am at 410 Cathy Street. Actually, the first picture that showed, you see the tail end of my wife's car. On the first picture you showed has the tail end of my wife's car. Excuse me, in the water there. The kayaker picture was shared was our house. I just think that the cutting of the tree, we think the cutting of the trees will substantially increase the water. As many have said, the water has flooded already, even though that we've gone a while without it. You also got to take into account, where's all that water going to go? It goes down, and I mean, ultimately, it goes into that area where, from what I understand, the water drains into a water area further down. So what's going to happen to that area with, additional rain and all that surge at one time? Is that going to affect, the water areas further down that are further down Shea Street? Yeah, that's my wife's car that's showing. So, we've had this problem. We thought we got rid of it. It's now back, and now with all these trees going to go on, what's going to, as others have said, all that tree, what's going to stop the water from going down, flooding our houses, affecting our property values, as well as what's going to happen to the areas adjacent where the water does, ultimately that water does go. How is that going to do? Is it going to do damage to the areas that are the areas that are where the water goes, as it is the water goes? I mean, there's a pipe that runs between myself and Dan Cody. I live right next to Dan Cody. One of the pipes runs down there, and that's where the water goes. It goes and flows where it flowed at one time. I just don't think putting this additional strain on this area is going to do any good other than it's going to, like someone said, it's going to put in the money in the pockets of those who Oak Hill Country Club. It's not going to benefit anyone in the city. It's not going to benefit us. In fact, it's probably going to hurt us, because if and when we decide to sell our houses, who's going to want to buy a house? I mean, yes, it's nice to have lakefront. It's nice to have lakefront property, but no, as I say, I think it's a very poor idea, not only for the neighborhood, but for the people in the neighborhood, but the area itself. And as I say, what's going to happen to all the animals, the water, where the water goes? It's going to damage that conservation, that area too. And the No Town Reservoir, from what I understand, someone said earlier, that water, affects that area too. So you're going to wash all this stuff down to that area. So, as I say, my wife Jamie and I are, firmly against it, because it's going to affect ourselves, our neighbors, and our livelihoods, and our personal property. So that's all, basically what we have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cochran. Who's next?
Nobody else has their hand raised. There's other people, but they put their hands down.
Okay, it sounds like there were some people who had their hands up that were visiting us remotely, but their hands went down. I'd like to remind you that it's now the time for the remote attendees to speak. If you had your hand up and you put it down, we ask that you use that function again so that we can hear what you have to say.
Oh, there it is. One person, yeah. Mr. Chris Kuchar.
Mr. Chris Kuchar.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm against this project 100%. The guy that's proposing it, you think Danny really talked to you a few minutes ago. I would really lay into you. It's very bad for the neighborhood. If you want me to build a prison across from your house with no prisoners there, with a fence, how would you like to look at that? And for the Conservation Committee, put your thinking caps on and think real hard about this. Because I've seen a development up on Ringe Road or Trailer Park. You guys have been fighting over that for years. And it's very bad for the city of Fitchburg. If Oak Hills needs money that bad, shut down 9 holes. Put it on that other 9 holes. Lower the price for people to play golf in there. Don't be so greedy and have a $10,000 membership fee. All right? If I get water in my property like I did 2 weeks ago, who's coming to clean it up? Not you from the leasing company or anybody else. The city didn't come sweep my street. I swept my street. We take care of our property. It's very bad. I've never seen the mayor up there in floods. The only one I've seen is Sam Squallier up here a few years ago. I've got pictures from 2018 in the winter when it's flooded, and nobody wants to come up. One of your friends just retired, Withington. He didn't want to do a word over there. He didn't want to do nothing because he was lazy about that, because everything was cleared over there and it was supposed to be taken care of, but it's not. So I suggest you shoot this down 100%. Send it to a different community, like I say. If they need money up there, lower their rates for everybody to play their ball game. You got animals in there, wild nature in there. They need a place to live too. So you know what? Cut the shit with the golf company. We're all neighbors. I've never seen any. There's a tree that uprooted 4. You think they do now pretty?
Wait, just great. Just great.
Is
anybody else having connection issues with him?
Yes, Mr. Kuchar, we're having some trouble hearing you.
Let them more businesses in here. This is not a business. I'm not
Mr. Kuchar, we're having trouble hearing you, and might we ask that you send an email to the Community Development Office outlining your concerns so that we can add it into the minutes for the meeting? We're struggling to hear you.
Yep.
Did we lose him?
I think we did.
Okay. Do we have anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Kuchar. Do we have anyone else that is, any more friends that are visiting us remotely that would raise their hand to speak? And before we move on, I want to remind everyone that's visiting us remotely that you are more than welcome to send in an email that we can enter into the public record. Speaking of that, we have an email right here from Marianne Bajo. Is there somebody that would like to speak? We've got, if somebody here would like to speak, please, this is your chance. You'll have other chances. We'll have other meetings about this. We like it when our friends visit us. So, sir.
Hi, it's me again, Warren Tuscola, 32 Gloria Avenue. And I have a couple of questions regarding the impact study, the third-party impact study. Who will determine who does this study, and what will the results of the study, what will the impact of the results of the study be? In other words, will their findings be the final word, or will their findings just be used as information to help in making a final decision?
Mr. Tuscola, it's my understanding the city has businesses that are contracted to provide these services. And so we would use those businesses that are there in place for that we use in other instances, and we do take their findings into consideration.
Okay, so it's an impartial
Yes.
third party. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this time? Please, come on up.
Get a lawn. Oh, Jesus.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Lassard. I live at 425 Teresa Street. I'd like to go back to the graphic that you had that had the picture of the solar field on it.
Just bear with me, please.
So the reason that I have concerns and I don't support this is because several years ago when you did the mitigation on Shea Street, there was a retention area that was put in. The overflow for that area is a wetland, and that wetland currently is at capacity. So it's on the upper end of that. So there's the solar field, there's Pepper Road, it goes down to Shea Street, and the end is where the wetland is. The wetland is at capacity now. And 2 years ago, my next door neighbor was drilling a well in his backyard, and at 4 feet, he hit water. So the groundwater, the tables have been elevated, and the wetland is being used as the overflow filtration for what will be the solar panel. Teresa Street has problems at the end already because of the pitch in the road where we have flooding, and my land abuts the wetland. And our concern is that we're going to become the collateral damage from this project, much like the other gentleman who talked about the condominium project that occurred on Rollstone Street. No one really took into account that there would be problems with it downgrade, and we're currently sitting right there. So I just wanted to go on record to say that I don't support this project.
Thank you, Ms. Lassard. Anyone that would like to speak, you're welcome to remotely at this point. Do we have someone?
Yes.
Okay.
Trisha Normandin.
Ms. Normandin? Ms. Normandin, you can unmute yourself and speak. Ms. Normandin, when you're able to speak. So while we're waiting for that, I do have an email here that I'd like to read, and Ms. Normandin, you can chime in afterwards. Conservation Commission Board, my name is Marianne Bajo. I reside at 409 Cathy Street, Fitchburg, since 1968. I was dumbfounded to receive notification that Oak Hill Country Club Solar LLC is proposing to alter the woods on Shea Street. I believe this area is subject to protection under the Wetlands Protection Act. I am totally against this proposal and urge you to vote no on this project. The summer of 1969 was my first experience dealing with the Shea and Cathy Street flooding. This would happen after a heavy rainfall and seasonally after snow melt in late winter and early spring. I have seen numerous cars get stuck in the floodwaters. In fact, I have witnessed Fitchburg Fire Department rescue a woman whose car was caught in the flood. Our neighborhood has been plagued by runoff from Oak Hill property for approximately 50 years. Within the last 5 years or so, a swale was constructed on Shea Street. This has helped the situation until our most recent heavy rainstorms, when once again we were flooded. In fact, the water was deep enough for a kayaker to paddle down Cathy Street. Just last night, July 26th, about 9:30, the DPW was called and a barrel was placed over the most recent hole in the street. This flooding is a major safety factor. Can you imagine what it would be like if the woods that help retain some of this water were removed? Once it's done, it will be too late. In addition, please consider the wildlife that inhabit this area. Numerous deer feed at the wood's edge. In addition, we have seen wild turkeys, numerous birds, and an occasional bear. I implore you to vote no on this proposal. Protect our wetlands and save our neighborhood. Thank you very much, Marianne Bajo. Okay, sir.
Chris Kuchar said he's back on, he wants to finish his comment.
Yeah, Mr. Kuchar.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Kuchar.
Yeah, like I told you, I'm against this project 100%. All right? It just does not feed anybody in the neighborhood. I'm not getting paid. I'm not getting an electric bill low or anybody else in the neighborhood. So, like I say, put your thinking caps on, because not just you complaining, you look at these rotaries. You look at by traffic backs up down there.
Mr. Kuchar? Mr. Kuchar, we're having trouble hearing you.
Yes? Okay.
You're going
well,
in and out. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah. Okay. You still there?
We are.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, the city needs to look at, for the residents, not for the business owner. Time.
And you're coming in and out again, Chris.
Mr. Kuchar, can we ask that you submit your comments in writing so we can add it to the record?
Road over there.
Mr. Kuchar, have you finished? Thank you, Mr. Kuchar. We ask that you submit your comments in writing so we can enter them into the public record. Do we still have Ms. Normandin?
No, we don't. We have a Laura Packin.
Laura Packin? Ms. Packin?
Hello. Hi, yes, good evening. How are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay, sorry. So my name is Laura Paquin. I live at 54 Gloria Avenue. And my concern already is the cost that the residents are incurring with the water we already get. I'm halfway up Gloria and I have water in my basement. I'm using my sump pumps regularly. We have our dehumidifier running in the basement daily. My father lives next door. He has the same problem. And my father is a one-income home. My mother is disabled. His electric bill is already astronomical with the amount of effort it takes to keep his basement dry. Any slip of that could cause mold to grow, which will only hurt our residents in our neighborhood. It's already such an impact on the people who live here to deal with what they have to do in order to live in their homes. And this is just hurting us. We love this neighborhood. We love our neighbors. And we don't want to see anyone struggle or not afford to be able to stay in their home because now they have to try to keep their basements dry. And it's really sad because we really take a lot of pride in this neighborhood.
Thank you, Ms. Paquin.
Thank you.
Melissa Fleming.
Ms. Fleming?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Fleming.
Hi. I wasn't going to weigh in on this, but just listening to everybody, I just felt I had to. I am too opposed to this this development up there. I have had a few solar farms put in near me, and the most upsetting thing to see is acres of trees being removed, greenery to go green. It is not only not good for the environment and for the land, it's not good for the neighbors. It's just a hideous-looking structure that it doesn't benefit anybody but the person who owns it and who the solar farm is being put in for. I myself have solar, but it's private and it's on my home. It doesn't affect anybody else. So I am opposed to this, and I stand with those residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fleming. Do we have any other hands? Any other hands up from our remote friends? Okay. Anyone who is visiting us in person, I want to remind everyone you are welcome to submit your comments in writing, and they will go into the public record. And this is not the first meeting that we're going to be having about this. You're welcome to join us at a site visit, which will be publicly posted, and we welcome you to join us, or at the next meeting that we have of this. I don't want to move on until everyone's had a chance to speak. I feel strongly that the abutters should have a chance to speak. But it looks like we don't have anyone that would like to speak at this time. It doesn't look like we have anyone visiting us remotely that has their hand raised.
No.
We don't have any more emails to read, so I'm going to move on. Thanking everyone for their time and the effort that they put into this, and welcoming you to join us at any meeting that we have at the Conservation Commission, but don't come too many times or we're going to make you be on the commission. Okay. Let's see. Hearing no more from the public, I'd like to move on to the commissioners.
Madam Chair, if I
Mr.
could
Rowe.
have a moment to
Please, go ahead.
address some of the comments very briefly. I'm not going to address all of them. I know we're going to be here for several meetings, but I don't want any misconceptions moving forward. So bottom line is I did reference Oak Hill Country Club's parcels of land, specifically on the east side of Oak Hill being 118 acres. This project does not contain solar panels for 118 acres, right? So the specific area of the solar panels is 17.3. The tree clearing is going to be 25.3 acres. If you're interested, because this is the Conservation Commission, the 100-foot buffer zone on the property is 4.84 acres. We're only disturbing 0.89 acres of that buffer zone. Within that buffer zone, of the 50-foot buffer zone, we're disturbing 0. So this is a project for cutting trees between 50 and 100. Doesn't contain any discussion about panels, fences, detention basins, flooding, or whatever with the commission. I believe that's going to be the planning board's purview. So moving on. We will be addressing the visibility issue with the planning board as part of their regulations. We will be addressing the stormwater runoff. We submitted a stormwater management system design report to the Conservation Commission and to the Planning Board, and I believe that's going to be the basis of a third-party peer review to go through that report, come back with that peer review report so we can read it, understand it, make revisions, and resubmit plans or plan revisions or report revisions to both Concom and the Planning Board. We've done many solar projects in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, also in New Hampshire and also in Maine. Throughout the construction and the completion of those projects, somebody brought up diminishing property values. I am not aware of any assessor's office in any community that has lowered the assessment on the homes that abut a solar field. But I welcome you to call the city assessors and ask that question. I'd like to know that answer from the city of Fitchburg. Keep in mind, I listened very carefully to all your comments, as I will again at future meetings of the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board. And I take those to heart. I'm going to do my very best to design a project that is going to take into account some of your concerns, if not all of them, if I can. But keep in mind, Oak Hill Country Club, nor myself, had anything to do with the flooding problems that you're experiencing today. We helped. We granted the city an easement to put that detention basin on Oak Hill's property to detain the water and minimize that flooding for the residents. And we were happy to do that. That said, again, I welcome a site inspection with the Conservation Commission on a Saturday, Sunday, or after work. I will remind the Commission, and I'll say this for everybody here, and I don't mean anything bad by this, but when we do site walks, it's going to be myself and it's going to be the Conservation Commission members only on the property. That's how that goes. So
what's the sense of the site walk?
The site walk is with us and the Commission to review the wetland delineation.
So I can stand at the end of my street on Shea Street and watch you walk over the woods talking to these people?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yep.
There's a lot of good.
Yep. That's standard practice. I'm not inventing this. This is the way we've done business for years, right? So I don't mean anything bad by it whatsoever.
Were you part of the deal when the Oak Hill Country Club gave the easement to the city for our ravine, or whatever you want to call it?
I did.
You were part of it?
I was.
Just asking.
I was. Yeah. I was. I facilitated that with Lenny Laxo and Nick Erickson. Yep. And Oak Hill Country Club was happy to do it.
It was runoff from their golf
Has the city ever done any favors for the country club?
I have no idea.
For allowing Mr. Rowe to speak. Thank you. Thank you. The minutes from the meeting will be publicly posted. Okay. Mr. Rowe.
That's all. So again, I'm just reminding the Commission, this is a buffer zone issue, and no work is being done between 0 and 50, and we're cutting trees within 50 to 100, leaving the stumps and leaving the ground cover. That's exactly what we applied for with the Conservation Commission. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think we could schedule a site visit.
Thank you. Thank you.
August 12, 19, and 26 are Saturdays. If Saturdays work for the commission and the...
Ralph Baker has had his hand up.
Commissioner Baker?
I'm not speaking right now to the date of the site walk. I'm more addressing the broader issue of solar farms and where they get sited. One of the things that we on the volunteer-only Conservation Commission, none of us are elected, we're just volunteers that were appointed. None of us are fully authorized to put an entire stop to this project because that's not our jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction has to do with the Wetlands Protection Act, which is this buffer zone issue, and also to a certain degree with the stormwater issues, which I actually feel are very valid. One of the things that we on the Conservation Commission have been seeing is an increase in the amount of forest cutting in Fitchburg, reflected by forest cutting plans that get submitted to us from the State Department of Conservation and Recreation's foresters. Landowners who want to cut their forests have to submit these forest cutting plans to us. And over the past few years, we've seen a marked and abrupt increase in the amount of forest land that's being cut in our city. In fact, approximately 500 acres of forest land has been proposed or actually cleared or partially cleared in the past approximately 5 years, and that's about 5% of all our forest cover in Fitchburg. As a result of this, I helped to convene a Fitchburg Forest Forum about a year ago, which the city sponsored, and it was open to the public. We discussed there what some of the other options are for forest landowners that might want to gain some income from their property other than by cutting the trees. Because one of the things that we recognize is that there's a lot of value that forests provide, which nobody's measuring exactly, but when we lose them, we see that those, they're called ecosystem services that forests provide, end up being taken away, and everyone adjacent or downstream in particular gets affected. So we're familiar with the concerns that have been raised tonight, and I would very much like to encourage Oak Hill to find other ways besides cutting the trees to get some benefit from holding that forest land, and one of them might be by selling carbon credits, which is something we discussed at the Fitchburg Forest Forum a year ago. Another thing I would just bring up is that there are a wide variety of ways of ameliorating the effects of cutting trees. One is to cut fewer trees. One is to site solar farms in more suitable locations, such as rooftops, commercial property, commercial rooftops, highway medians, other kinds of neglected places that are already cleared. There's just a host of places where solar farms can be put. And in fact, Oak Hill could probably purchase such a property and put the solar farm there and still get a lot of income off of it. So I can't make that decision entirely, but I think that we can help to influence the way this goes to some degree, and I hope we can be as responsible as possible in the way we do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Mr. Seneca, did you have something to add?
My name is Bertie Schultz.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Schultz.
I live on Secretary Street.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just had a question
I
for the
apologize.
applicant. I was wondering if we would be, as a city council, would be able to join the site visit, or do we have to wait for the planning board, because we have, joined the planning board that invited us for site visits in the past. So I just had that question for the applicant, if city councils could go along on the site visit.
So in the past, we have allowed city officials to come on the property, so I will consider it to the Conservation Commission. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean any disrespect. Was there someone else who pointed at me over there? Okay.
I just wanted to bring up one point Mr. Rowe brought up about going to the assessor. The bread and butter of my business, I do commercial and residential real estate. And I'm telling you, I've seen more deals fall apart because things are near solar farms. They really take a... Not only do they hurt the area, but they hurt the people financially. So these poor people are taking a double whack. They're getting flooded basements, and they're going to take a hit in the pocketbook. And the assessor's never going to be able to quantify that. But I can tell you, when you open market, you talk to any agent worth their salt. If they can pick a home that's not near the solar farm, or one that's same thing, say it's a cul-de-sac or whatever, at the end, like one's near a solar farm or not near a solar farm, I'll tell you what, the not solar farm is going to win every time. It is a financial hit. And with regards to chopping the trees, it's still almost 20 acres of trees being cut, and they're going to be gone, and that erosion is going to increase at an exponential rate. It's just common sense. And when that erodes, then it's going to have a domino effect. So it might not be today, but it'll be 5 years from now. And you know, what's going to happen? Oak Hill's going to go, hey, they approved it. So I understand that it's not your purview to just arbitrarily deny it, but I think there are so many mitigating factors ecologically that there's enough here that just says enough's enough. Because if it were just me, Mike Hirsch, going to put up a solar farm in my yard, would I get the same rhythm or is Oak Hill? No way. No way. And everybody here in this room knows it. They would not get the same benefit of the doubt as they do. So it's about, like I said before, it's about watching out for our neighbors. And these are facts, you know, and I do have a copy of that Plan Cafe that I will give to you. And it speaks to a lot of this stuff. And I think Dr. Baker brought up, there are other areas, things that we can do. We need to be smarter and better.
Madam Chair, I think we were scheduling a site visit.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Birch.
Madam Chair, gentleman in the back.
Just guest talking now. Quick question for the gentleman here. You keep on citing that you're going to leave the stumps. Can you please explain to me exactly how rotting stumps that are perpetually going to rot away and help slide this land down, going to help anything? Like you've commented several times that you're going to leave the stumps as if that's an important thing.
It's always an advantage to not disturb the ground cover, and that's important.
You said that too, but for why? What do you actually gain from that? Because if you're trying to avoid the ruining the ground cover, then don't cut down the damn trees. That's just going to turn into muck. They're just going to rot away and turn into sinkholes, which is going to further erode the land away.
Sir?
Yes.
I'm going to ask, we need to move forward on this. Everyone had more than enough time to speak. I feel that at this point, if you'd like to...
That's still a question that I would like to technically answer.
If you would like to forward your questions to your ward counselor, I think that would be one of the effective ways of managing your questions. Residue management is what this is called.
He's a cool guy. Like, he's just doing his job. I understand that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I have a question related to the on-site visit. I think it would be really helpful if we could if Oak Hill Country Club or the applicant could either flag or stake out the limit of clearing within the 100-foot buffer zone, so that when we go out on site, we can see exactly what the impact is, which trees are being taken down.
Mr. Rowe?
That's fine.
Okay.
There's no issues with that.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Yep.
And Jamie, how long do you think that's going to take?
I'll definitely I'll definitely have it staked out for you, Tim, prior to the site walk. If you give me a week, all of next week, I'll have it staked out by the end of week on Friday.
August 12, 19, and 26 are Saturdays.
Okay. No, not the 26th for me.
19. He'll have time.
Yeah. How does the rest of the commission feel about the 19th?
No, I'm good on the 19th.
I'm good on the 19th.
I will not be good on the night. I can't do any Saturday in August, pretty much. Sorry.
Okay. Dr. Baker?
No, I'll be away on the 19th.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable? Would you like us to do the 12th? Mary, that's not going to work for Mary. Dr. Baker, are you around on the 12th?
No, coming back from being away on the 12th.
Okay.
Would you have a quorum with?
A weeknight evening.
Well, that would still, if we have 4, that would provide a quorum for the commission, and we can, Ralph and Mary, are you okay with updates if we proceed?
Yeah, I would like to be there, and I can do a weeknight evening, but if you guys want to do Saturday, that is fine.
Actually, you know what? I misspoke. I could do Saturday, August 12th.
Okay, so then let's do the 12th.
Okay.
My apologies.
That's okay. How about the 12th? Does that work for you? Okay,
Mr.
so
Rowe, does that work for you?
10 days.
We'll have it staked out by the 11th.
What time, Madam Chair?
Let's see, 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
Is 9 o'clock okay?
Yep.
9 a.m.
And where are we going to meet?
So the project's on Shea Street. If you're on Shea,
We need to be able to hear what's going on, friends. Thank you.
so
Mr. Rowe.
if we meet on Shea Street, if you're on Shea Street looking at the project into the woods, you look at the detention swale, all the way to the right of that detention swale, where it terminates, is actually where the wetland starts. So we can meet right there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's ample room on the side of Shea Street to park.
We can coordinate
Yep.
the exact location in the office and then email everybody.
Okay. Herlin said they're going to coordinate the exact location and email everyone.
I would request, if possible, any emails that the Conservation Commission receives, if you could forward them to me at my office, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of their day to come and join our meeting. And your comments have definitely will be entered into the record. And we look forward to seeing you at another meeting.
Sorry, Nick has his hand raised.
Oh, Mr. Erickson?
Thank you. I just wanted to point out a few things about the stormwater system in the Shea Street neighborhood ahead of the site walk in case commissioners were interested. As former Commissioner Laxo pointed out, we've done extensive work in that neighborhood to try to resolve some of the flooding issues that have existed since the neighborhood was constructed back in the 50s. So all of the catch basins within the roadways in Shea Street are handled by one of the 2 barrels of a culvert that runs from essentially Cathy Street underneath the ground through several properties out to Shea Brook, which effectively begins at the outlet of the stormwater system at the end of Shea Street Extension. The swale itself is handled by a second barrel of that culvert, which runs from the outlet upstream through a 24-inch pipe to 2 inlets located within the swale. So I've seen the swale itself overtop only twice since it was designed and constructed. The first being several years ago, I believe it was 2019, maybe 2018. We received like 6 or 7 inches of rain, and the outlet trash screens clogged up with leaves. So we pulled those screens, and they haven't gone back in since. And then the second time that I observed the overtopping was 2 weeks ago when we received 3.5 inches within 1 day, and as former Commissioner Laxo pointed out, roughly 2.25 inches over the course of an hour. So the swale itself was designed for a 100-year, 24-hour storm. And what we've identified, just based on observations over the years, is that it can't handle that 2.25-inch rain over a 60-minute period, which equates to roughly a 50-year, 60-minute storm. So I think when we're doing our third-party review of this, we need to look very closely at whether the swale itself is sized to handle a storm similar to what we've seen recently, which, in my opinion, is happening more frequently. So that 60-minute, 2.25-inch or so rain. And then the other thing we need to look at is whether that 24-inch piping that connects the swale to the outlet to Shea Brook can handle the projected increase in flows. So I wanted to make the commissioners aware of that. I wanted to make Mr. Rowe aware of that. Those are things that we need to verify. I have not finished my review of this, but I plan to do so in the next several weeks and provide comments back to the commission. But I will say that that swale has helped significantly, and if we can enlarge the swale, I think it will help address some of the flooding that we've seen over the past couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Can I have a motion to continue this hearing?
Motion to continue the hearing
Second.
to, I think it's September, I lost my calendar.
It should be me, sorry. 6th.
6.
September 6th is our next meeting, yep.
There's a motion and a second on the table. All in favor? Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Helene?
I just want to say that I appreciate everybody speaking, and I'm thinking very heavily about all of the words that you guys have said tonight, and aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield? Aye. So the motion passes. We'll continue this to the September 6th meeting. Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Thank you, friends, for joining us tonight.
Have a good evening.
Go ahead.
Thanks,
Yeah.
you too.
Give them a chance to get out of here.
Sounds like a good plan to take a break.
I need to go use the bathroom.
Straight. Just see when I was showing myself pictures of Keystone Lake.
Yeah, thank you.
She thinks it right out of beer.
Thank you.
So, thank you for that brief moment. Let's get back to it. And we are at IVJ Group. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, IVJ Group, LLC, Ivor Johnson Mills renovation, 91, 89, and 87 River Street. Speaking to the notice of intent, we have Anthony Cleaves.
Good evening. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Anthony Cleaves. I'm with Haley Ward Design Engineers for the project, also representing IVJ Group, LLC. Also here tonight is representatives from IVJ Group, Greg Moran and Norman Garapi. The project is located at the corner of River Street and Naugatuck Street. If you're familiar with the area, it's an area of historic old mills, which is this property as well. The address is 87, 89, and 91 River Street. There's 3 existing buildings on this property. This property was originally developed by the Walter Haywood Chair Company back in the late 1870s. Around 1890s, the Ivor Johnson Cycle and Arms Company purchased it and furthered the development. So this is a historic mill complex development, been around for quite some time. The proposed project is to renovate the 3 existing buildings, to convert them into residential housing, and then to update the site layouts to provide parking areas, added green space, as well as some improved utilities, stormwater, sewer, and water. As far as jurisdictional areas for the Conservation Commission, what you have in the handouts in front of you and on the screen, I've highlighted in purple dash line is the inner and outer riparian zone, the 100 and 200 foot. So just to the north, which is actually planned north as well, is the North Nashua River. We are separated between the North Nashua River by another existing building. It's a different parcel, but that building was also part of some of the original developments back in the late 1800s. But we are separated from the river by that property. So as you can see, we are just on the outer edge of the 200-foot riparian zone. And again, this is an existing developed site. So we're not clearing any trees or anything like that. We're just redeveloping it. Also, this property is within the 100-year floodplain, so land subject to flooding, which is also why we would be before this commission. In blue to the bottom page left is where the limit of the 100-year flood elevation, the floodplain is. Essentially, the entire site is within the 100-year floodplain. Mm-hmm. Comparing some of the project to previous historical buildings in developed areas, we estimate that we're having about an increase of almost 12,000 square feet of porous surface cover compared to what was historically been there. Of that, about 2,800 is in the riverfront. As it pertains to the 100-year floodplain, we are creating about an additional 6,000 cubic feet of flood storage. So we are doing some cuts and fills to better improve the surface runoff, but we do have a net increase in flood storage. On the stormwater system, there is an existing stormwater system on the site. It's quite old, and so we're going to be completely redoing that. All new pipes, all new catch basins, manholes, to improve that. There's also an existing leaching catch basin on the west side of the property, parking lot, and there's a leaching pipe that was there. So we're going to upgrade that to today's standards, significantly increasing the storage of that and the infiltrative capacity by putting an underground infiltration system. So right now it's just a a small perforated PVC pipe. We're going to have a larger underground stormwater chamber system to, again, provide more infiltration into the ground. As part of the stormwater improvements, it's on a separate sheet than what you have in front of you, but in order to get the stormwater to discharge to the North Nashua River, we're proposing new piping through our neighbors to the north to discharge to the North Nashua River. So that's on another sheet in the plan set shows, well, actually, you can see it in the top right corner of that plan. Sorry, Harlan. In the top right corner is in the plans that you folks have in front of you, is an inset of the stormwater discharge location there. So we are going to have some work up in the top right corner there, just associated with the pipe discharge to get that to the North Nashua River. Erosion control, we're proposing a series of erosion control measures, including construction entrances, hay bale or straw wattles, silt fence, and silt sacks, and all of the structures existing in when they go in proposed if the site is still not stable to accommodate any erosion and sedimentation that may occur. It's a brief overview for you if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cleaves. Let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this hearing, or would like to request more information? I have some folks here, okay. Hearing none from the public. Let's turn to the commission.
I hope the commission will join me on August 12th for a site walk to share my enthusiasm for this project.
So we're going to add this to the site walk. What time do you think we can, does that work for you, Mr. Cleaves?
Probably not for me, but it doesn't matter.
For someone in your organization?
Will be there, so we'll work at your schedule, absolutely.
Is that a burden for you, Mr. Cleaves?
I'll be out of town, so.
Okay.
Would the commission like
don't,
for us,
not to worry.
for me to organize a date and time for a site walk?
Mike, do we need a site walk?
I would like to have a site walk.
I want to share the site with you guys. This is going to be, this is a no-brainer. This is wonderful.
I think it's quite exciting, so I wouldn't mind a site walk.
Developing those 3 buildings is going to be, if you want something good for the city, this is good for the city.
So should we do another day, or do you have someone else that can meet us there?
Well, someone else could go. We'll make that work for you, absolutely.
And so
Would you like
Shea
to do it?
Street, what are we looking at for Shea Street? Do we think an hour?
Why not?
Jamie said that he was looking at wetlands and buffer zone. That's what his interest is on that particular morning. So it's not about all the problems of the neighborhood. It's about buffer zone and wetland. So an hour.
An hour to walk around and drive to River Street?
Well, I don't know about 10:30, because by the time we walk around, have discussion about the Shea Street, then it'll give us time to get.
Well, the neighbors are going to slow us down as well.
Right, so we could be
10:30.
at this site at 10:30.
10:30.
Unless you want to do earlier, I don't think it'd be an issue for us. If that's.
Want to get to River Street?
Happy to go 8.
I know, yeah, if you want to get to River Street at 8 o'clock.
I'm fine doing 8 o'clock.
Dr. Baker?
Yeah, that would be okay.
Okay, I think Mary said Commissioner Helene wasn't able to meet us. So let's go with...
Will the applicants be up that early?
Absolutely.
Somebody will.
The pigeons?
Do you get up at 11? Or?
We'll be there with our wings on.
Herlin, can you organize that and
Yes.
get it out there? Okay, River Street site. So 8 a.m.?
And maybe the easiest way to get in would probably come in on the Nottkeg Street entrance. You can see on the kind of left-hand side there. Come in there, and then as soon as you come down the driveway, just take an immediate right. There's area to park some cars there. It's away from some of the other businesses' traffic.
Okay. All right, so do we have a motion and a second to continue this meeting?
Motion to continue first to the site walk and then it'll be till September. Mr. Cleaves, I just wanted one quick question. I see you submitted your plan to DEP, but you haven't heard anything back yet. They didn't post any response yet.
Not yet. Yeah, so we did an online filing, so it had that immediate task generated as it does with the system. We have not received the file number or comments as of yet, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also, we have submitted with the planning board, so we'll be before them at their August meeting, August 22nd. And then this project also is going to require a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals, so we'll be before them in September as well.
Can I call the roll? Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Helene?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield, all unanimous. We'll continue this to the site walk and the September 6th meeting.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Cleaves, for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, did we get a second?
Yeah.
I thought we did.
Yeah, Herlyn wanted, for the record, who was the second?
I'll be the second.
Mark's the second. Thank you. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to other business. And it's my understanding that Woodland Estates, Manufactured Home Park, Ringe Road, there has been a request for continuance. There was a death in the family, and...
She's here.
Oh, okay. Okay,
I'll recluse myself.
thank you. Go ahead. Who is it?
Hi. Joanne.
Oh, go on, Joanne.
Hi. Here.
Go ahead.
I don't know, what would you like to know?
Ms. Hamburg, I think we're still trying, this is Commissioner Jacobs, we're still trying to determine if the drainage basin is functioning and that the drains have been connected to it. I guess I have a question for Mr. Erickson or Mr. Hillman. Were there any issues on Ringe Road with the recent rainfall, heavy rainfall in that area that you know of?
Not that I know of.
I'm not aware of any either. Like I mentioned, for the library project, though, our attention was diverted to Hobson, Haywood, Birch Street areas, Franklin Road, Rollstone Street, where we had major problems. So we weren't necessarily paying attention to these areas during that event, unfortunately.
But we didn't have any issues.
So, Ms. Hamburg, when are we going to be able to, or when will you be able to provide the commission with information that the catch basins that were installed are now connected to the drainage basin as required by the order of condition?
As I mentioned at the last meeting, all the catch basins that are installed are connected to the detention basin and are working. We have a cease and desist order, which will not allow me to do any hammering or moving of material. So because of this, I have not been able to install the additional catch basins and sewer manholes and all that stuff. So we have been talking to the ZBA and Attorney Pusatari, and we are trying to come to an agreement to be able to start moving forward soon here. I believe that Attorney Pusatari has reached out to you folks to let you know what was going on, along with Mark Barbadoro.
All right, as I understand it, that the cease and desist does not apply to the conservation order. So if there are other catch basins that still need to be connected to the detention pond, then that work needs to be completed.
So are you giving me permission to move forward and hammer and do the excavating that I need to do that the building commissioner has told me not to do?
Go ahead, Ms. Murphy.
Mr. Barbadaro was in our office today, and he did reiterate that the cease and desist is specific to the building work and not work that would be required to remediate the Conservation Commission's concerns. So
can I get that in writing?
We can get confirmation from the building commissioner for that. Yep.
That I can have permission to install the rest of the drainage by hammering and moving material? Because I can't do any of that without moving material and hammering, and this has been the number one concern. And that's why I hired some engineers to redesign the whole project so that we could eliminate the blasting and the hammering to a minimum. And that's what we've been going back and forth with for months. So if you can get me permission to finish putting in my utilities and continue to hammer, then I wouldn't have to spend that money on engineering.
So I just spoke with City Solicitor Pusateri, who said they are in the process of determining all of these issues, and we were going to be updated when they came up with a determination. I was under the impression that Joanne was here to request a continuance tonight.
Well, I had requested continuance earlier because we've been waiting to finalize stuff with Attorney Pusateri and the CBA. And just because, the last ZBA meeting, my mother passed away 5 minutes or so before it. So it's just been a rough couple of weeks. So anyways, but I'm here and I'm trying to answer every question that you have. And if you can find a way that I can move forward without upsetting everybody else, I'd be more than happy to put my guys back to work because they've been out of work since Christmas.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Donnelly.
May I offer this to the commission, that we draft an order to complete the project and a deadline. That is to tie in the drainage. That piece of paper presented to the building department. Now the building department can do his job. She's protected by that piece of paper that we demanded that it be done. And we've done our job, and that's all we can do tonight is our job. So let's give her a piece of paper that says she's under order to get it done. She can give that to the building department and let them settle it. Let them determine to what extent work she can do, if any. But we've done our job. And if the building department doesn't give her the authority to proceed, then we have the building department to address, not the applicant. But she needs something in writing to hand to them to say, hey, I'm under the gun. I've got to get it done. That's all. And he'll give her the limits of what can be done. Joanne, they would limit you as to what you could get done, and at least you could move forward.
Well, that's what I've been trying to do, but wouldn't let me. So this is why like the last meeting, I'm like, I don't know how I'm supposed to work when I can't work.
I think that order and a deadline to get it done will help you go forward. And I'd like to propose that we issue that this evening, the CONSCOM.
Mike, I'm not sure how we do that.
We want to close shop on this open-ended order of conditions, and we give a deadline to get it done. Is it enforceable? It's a piece of paper that the building department can react to. We've already issued the order of conditions, haven't we?
Right.
We just don't have a deadline on it. We can continue this till the cows come home, but we might be able to put it behind us if the building department were pushed by us and not this idea of continuing. Do you think it's gone on long enough? I think everyone would agree. So let's do what we can do to go forward. Continuing it for 30 days isn't doing what we can do to go forward.
Well, the question that the appeal that is now in place, or that Ms. Hamburg is pursuing, is based on the decision made by the Zoning Board of Appeals. We're not going to allow her to go beyond the scope of what the zoning board currently is allowing.
We're only going to do is enforce our order of conditions, which is to tie in the storm sewer. That's it. That's all we're going to do. And then whatever other fight is out there, it's not with us.
But the storm sewer, how far into the project? Because the Zoning Board of Appeals now has said to her she can only put in 4 more houses, trailers, okay? That is where at least at this point, where the sewer should stop and the drainage should stop, not beyond. So we're not granting authorization to go beyond the scope of what the zoning board currently allows.
Can I intervene?
We're not talking all the way to the end of the property at this point, because that's what's under appeal. Only what's
Go ahead, Herlin.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to state that maybe the best option would be to confer with the city solicitor as to what the conservation is allowed to do, because that's something that's above and beyond your jurisdiction. Whatever is going on with the city solicitor.
Our order could limit the tie-in to the footprint of 4 additional units.
All right, well, let's confirm that with Attorney Pusateri, that we have the authority to do that, because there's no sense in having a drainage basin if nothing is connected to it. I mean, it's kind of a moot point. Why did we request that?
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, everything is tied in at this point. I mean, and everything is working. I mean, the detention basin is working and it's doing a great job. It's just, they've stopped me from continuing, so we redesigned plans. And until everybody's on the same page, it's kind of hard to move forward, especially where I just had new plans designed and sent to the ZBA. And Attorney Pusateri. I mean, he's been talking to my attorney, Lou Levine, and our engineers to try to work everything out. But I mean, I don't want to do something and then they make me change it either,
The chair recognizes Ms. Murphy.
Thank you. I don't want to put words in Attorney Pusateri's mouth, but I certainly got the impression that this week was the first that he understood that conservation is also involved in this. So I think he needs to get up to speed on the scope of what we're looking for. And then I think these things can be worked out between departments and Attorney Pusateri.
Motion to continue.
Well, or Ms. Hamburg is saying that everything is done that needed to be done. So how do we verify that? How does she comply with that to say, I mean, I can say everything's done, but I need to,
I think that's what they're working on. The Solicitor Pusateri just mentioned to me that they were working with the applicant and the zoning board and the engineering firm that was hired to determine all of this. And so I think we need to continue this, and so that we can allow them to get up to speed. And we have a motion on the table.
All right, I'll second that.
Thank you. Let's see, we're going to call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Helene? Is Commissioner Helene recused on this? No. Commissioner Helene? She's still out there?
No.
Okay, we lost Mary. Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Sayerfield? The motion passes to continue. Did we hear from Dr. Baker?
Yeah, he said aye.
Okay, it's getting late, guys. All right, so we're going to continue. Do we have someone here from Mad River Solar? All right, your turn. Thank you for your patience.
All right. Madam Chair, I'm stepping away.
Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Josh Farkas with Professional Electrical Contractors of Connecticut. We're the general contractor or EPC firm that's been selected to finalize engineering, design, build the Mad River project. So we're here representing the applicant tonight. I believe they might be on as well. Just a quick opening question. Do we have 1 minute for this? Do we have ample time here? I thought I heard that we were closing at 9. So I just wanted to see how quickly we needed to get going here and meet the time constraints that may be.
I think we close at midnight to answer your question.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's great. I had heard 9 o'clock, like doors close. Great.
No. We thought it was a trick question because we would have said, no, I'm kidding. It's
Got
just
it.
on the record. I can't.
Okay. So, Matt,
Do you guys have attendees on virtual? Do you know of the virtual attendees? I have.
Owen Grant, Kristen McCabe, Alana Scher.
Okay. Yes. I have Owen Grant and Kristen McCabe and Alana Scher.
Okay, great. Okay, so as I said, Josh Farkas, Professional Electrical Contractors. Steve Beals is with me tonight. Steve runs our Renewable Energy Division. I'm number 2 underneath Steve. I just say that so that you understand as we get into this that you've got the 2 top representatives from our company to talk through the situation, which we take very seriously. Has everyone received and had a chance to read the letter that was submitted late in the day yesterday? I'm prepared to kind of summarize the letter, but we can also just get right down to it if that's more time efficient.
I'm unaware of a letter.
We are unaware of the letter. We expect our materials to be in 7 days before the meeting, and so if it came in after that,
okay.
we don't bring it in. But
No problem. Yep, I'm happy to summarize. So on July 24th, our company mobilized to the site on behalf of the applicant to conduct a geotechnical investigation, digging test pits throughout the site, mainly focused on identifying groundwater levels in the proposed detention or approved detention basins to the southern east and west ends of the site. On that day, we entered the site, we dug a number of test pits throughout, and we had a very poor performance as a company. The crew that was on site was a PEC representative and then a few representatives from one of our subcontractors, an equipment operator, in addition to a field engineer to supervise the work. We had a site plan of how to enter the site, how to stay out of the wetland areas, and very strategically approach the test pits to gather the data needed to finalize the detention basin design. We performed extremely poorly in the field. Mr. Art Allen and Mr. Smith visited the site a few days after we were out there and identified that we had disturbed the wetland buffers with the mini excavator, leaving a trail behind approximately 4 to 10 feet wide in areas. So we accidentally entered the wetland buffer zone, and we actually impacted the wetlands in 3 or 4 areas. We were out there earlier this week with a surveyor, walking the site, walking the track to identify all the damage caused and try to wrap our arms around it a little bit more. As I said, Mr. Smith and Art Allen, who the wetland scientist who represents the applicant, they had a chance to see the work. They were actually out there to hopefully close out the restoration effort from some of the previous issues that have occurred on the site. So Steve and I are here tonight to just own the mistake, tell you that it was completely unacceptable, let you know that we're here. We've been gathering information the last few days, putting together a plan of how to remedy the situation. So we're here to gladly talk about that. And hopefully restore some confidence that we're focused and capable of performing some of the restoration work. So I'll stop there for a moment. We do have an action plan that we're happy to share as part of this discussion, but I wasn't sure if that was an appropriate moment to pause.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, did you want to give us an update on what happened before we hear from this, or is everybody clear on what happened?
Yeah, I'll just say that it was accurately described. Art and I were met on site because the site restoration had been completed. We received the site restoration final report, and we're just going to go on site and confirm that the restoration had been done in compliance with the Commission's order condition. And walking on the site, we noticed excavator tracks going across the wetlands, and I had actually asked that Art that, hey, we really need to identify where this occurred, and the Commission's going to want to know how it's going to be remedied, what the applicant's going to do about it. So that's again, I think it was articulated what happened. So that's basically a summary of where we are now.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So there's a violation. Do you have, you're going to give us your plan on how you're going to
Absolutely.
fix that violation?
Yep, we started to detail some of the plan in the letter submitted yesterday. We've been on site a few times this week. The formal site visit was on Monday, the 31st of this week with our surveyor. Art also accompanied us to the site. There's two things that come to mind with our plan. Number one is making sure that we restore our damage, of course, and number two is making sure that this doesn't happen again, whether it's ourselves on the site, which hopefully will happen as time goes on here and the project eventually gets built, but anyone else who comes to the site, granted it won't be with an excavator, but to provide some education and some information to make sure that no one wanders into the wetlands mistakenly. So, our thoughts are, we've spoken with Art. I believe Art and Mr. Smith have had some high-level conversations on site and kind of described the remediation work as best performed by hand raking, importing compost and topsoil in certain areas as needed, and then seeding with the approved specialty native upland and wetland mixes, and then finally mulching those areas. I believe those folks feel that would adequately begin the restoration process. We've talked a lot about how it's a very good time of year to do it. It's warm, it's wet. We don't want to miss that window. So that would be the start of it. We have a qualified crew on standby. We're not planning to go back to the site and do any work until authorized by the Commission, of course. Just want you to know that we're ready. And site supervision, this is where we faltered in our last visit to the site. So we can put together a site supervision plan. We'd welcome any additional supervision to oversee the work as needed. We believe that would adequately start the restoration process. And again, I believe it will take 2 to 3 business days, working days, with roughly a 4-man crew to get that done. The next thing we'd like to offer, and this might be the first thing we do, is to go reflag the site. This is by no means an excuse. However, the site does have a lot of vegetation. It's very hard to see the flags, and they've been there for quite a while. We'd like to address that to ensure our folks and anyone else on the site can clearly see those flags. And we had the idea of posting at the site entrance a flagging plan that's available for anyone who comes on the site so that they can clearly identify what different color flags mean out there and find their way easily to see any buffer zones and wetland areas. And then as time moves on, we're fully committed to educating anyone who comes on the site. At some point, we may have our trailers set up after building permit issuance. I'm talking several months from now. But we would include this, an orientation plan that's approved by the Conservation Commission that we could commit to ensure that anyone who works on the site is fully educated of what's out there. As you even enter this site, you immediately do enter a buffer zone, which was, the road and access. So the moment you enter the site, you're in the buffer zone. You have to be careful. We've certainly learned our lesson. So those are our thoughts. We're moving really fast here. And Steve and I are here tonight to apologize, completely own the problems that we've caused, and try to develop an opportunity to move forward and correct it for you all. Thank you.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Well, yeah. Hey, specific to the violations of excavators going through the wetlands. One of the special conditions, number 11, was heavy equipment shall not be used in resource areas without timber matting. And it went on to say, in addition, the activity cannot degrade or alter the wetland. So, the commission, or this commission, is looking for assurances that it won't happen again. And one way to gain those assurances is to recognize those violations at a cost of $300 each. And that has a way of not guaranteeing, but assuring that it won't happen again if we follow the past practice for violations of our order of conditions. My notes, not clear, but the notification of beginning construction, that was an order of condition, and pre-construction meeting, and the name of the contractor provided. I'm not sure that those two machines were the beginning of construction, but can they be interpreted of pre-construction meeting not being held, a contractor's name not being provided, and no notification of beginning construction? Those are open-ended questions, the last three, but the three violations are clear, and those are my comments.
Did you have anything?
No, I agree, and so it's three individual violations at $300.
Would you like to make a motion?
Well, I share it with the commission. I don't know if it's the form of a motion. We've done it past practice has been $300 a violation, and there were 3 wetland crossings, and without special condition number 11 being recognized. We can go further about debating whether that was the beginning construction and absent a meeting and, the name of the contractor not being provided, but I wouldn't argue about whether they started work or not. I don't know what you were doing, you're going out there to check groundwater.
Site investigation, test pits, yes.
A motion to levy a $300 fine per violation, and you do the math, 3 times 3.
Okay. We have a second?
I second that.
Okay, all in favor, Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
And Commissioner Sarahfield, aye. Is Mary's not with us anymore? Okay. So the motion passes. Have you submitted your paperwork of how you're going to resolve
No, we've not. All we've submitted is the letter. We can document some of the additional things we plan and get that over to you, absolutely.
Okay.
My one question would be just trying to find a way to take advantage of the time of year. An approval of that, will that, do you anticipate that would have us coming back in a month, or that's an item that can be worked out in between meetings to kind of, have that plan reviewed, approved, and authorize the going
We
back
would
out?
encourage you to get that information in as quickly as possible.
Okay.
And noting that
Madam
it's...
Chair,
Yes, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, the remediation that Mr. Barkus described is appropriate for the work that went on, and I don't know that we'd want to delay that. So I would recommend that the commission consider giving them approval to go forward with the remediation, and to put all those, and then perhaps. The other thing that we can do is, so Mr. Barkus also described some steps that would be taken to prevent a further incursion or violation from occurring in the future. And perhaps we could amend our order of conditions to include those requirements.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Do we want to...
So moved. Madam Chair, let's just go forward with this as quickly as we can.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Baker. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly, Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield, aye. So please, let's get this started quickly.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I can't hear. Is she okay? Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, okay. So for those, Herlin is just getting the contact information from these folks so that she can communicate with them. Okay, Commissioner Jacobs is back. Let's go on to Battle Street. Do we have an update on that?
I believe that the fencing was now supposed to be up. I don't know if Herlin has anything else on that. We'll go, let's do the Emmanuel Lutheran Church lot, because Commissioner Donnelly may have something about that while Herlin is getting information.
Okay.
You spoke to the Lot 3 at the Emmanuel Lutheran Church, Mr. Brennan?
Well, Mr. Brennan was looking for clarification on whether the Conservation Commission's order of conditions extended to that other lot. And so I was hoping that we had a plan, whether, first of all, we had to determine whether it was the commission's intent that we included an order of conditions on 2 lots, and if it was, the developer is free to go. If it wasn't, can the commission rule on that second lot, whether it's determined whether the wetland protection applies on on lot number 3?
I was not under the impression that we were talking about 2 lots. They call it Lot 2 and Lot 3, which is the lot behind the church. We were only conditioning Lot 2, which is the one at the corner of John Fitch Highway and Will Thompson Way.
So our focus was down. I'm ignorant because I can't rule on it. I was out of the room, so I don't know what your
Madam Chair?
plan was.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I can help with this.
Okay.
So I received a call from Matt Morrow this morning. Matt has been retained by the developer to provide to delineate the wetland, and we both were in somewhat agreement that the wetland stretched up the hill and around the parking lot, and to proceed to apply to the Conservation Commission. So the applicant has acknowledged that the commission does have jurisdiction is proceeding appropriately.
RDA was, my knowledge was an RDA was, they were looking for, and not a notice of intent.
Well, it would be an RDA if they felt there were no wetlands there, but if Mr. Morrow is being now employed by the developer and he's going to mark the wetlands, then that would require a notice of intent.
Herlin has an update for that.
I think Tim Smith spoke on it a little bit while I was out, but coincidentally, Anthony Cleaves from Haley Ward is the person who is going to be in charge, or Wes, who's on vacation, and they have been in talks with Tim Smith, according to him, and they are working to move forward with this. They're working on either hiring somebody. I just got word today, like right before this meeting, that because I hadn't heard.
So that would be Mr. Morrow that is going to flag the wetlands.
Correct.
Yeah. So we're anticipating, Tim, a notice of intent, correct? I mean, if they feel there's no wetlands there, they can ask for an RDA, but if Matt finds that there's wetlands there, then we would expect a notice of intent.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm no longer ostracized to the Hull. That land has been subdivided, and my relation is no longer in a butter.
So Battle Street, did you have an update from Battle Street?
I reached out to,
About the fencing?
I did, and I haven't heard back from anybody.
Okay. So no update.
I feel like the summer, everybody's on vacation,
Yeah.
and it's,
Okay. Verizon Cell Tower, Wanuznok Road update. We have a site walk review that was submitted that I'm going to read into the minutes. On Monday, July 17, 2023, a site walk was performed at the above-mentioned address to access the conditions of Cell Tower Road and a retention pond after days of heavy rainfall. The Conservation Commission was notified, and a site walk was performed with the Community Development and Planning Principal Planner. The area was previously damaged by heavy rainfall in early spring, and the property owner was contacted and a remediation plan was put in place. During the visit on July 17, we noticed the swale on Route 2 pertaining to Mass DOT was still broken and not functional. Runoff is being diverted into the road but is no longer washing off debris into the abutter's property or retention pond. Another assessment of the area will be performed in the fall. This is nice. We got a little write-up about it. It was in the packet.
I concur with everything that was said. I went out after the nasty. The road handled it wonderfully, and perhaps the weakness remains Mass Highway's concrete swale that runs along the highway. They've done extensive work on Route 2 at that junction. They've taken out all of the woodland that separated that from the highway. They're doing guardrails or whatever. But if Mass Highway kept that open, the roadway really handled the rain well, except for the runoff from the highway. And as I said, I think we discussed it before, is it the Conservation Commission's interest to push dredging the retention pond? If it isn't, leave well enough alone. If it is, it's doing its job, collecting silt runoff.
Okay. We've got the Steamline Trail barrels update, which there is a site walk review that was submitted. On Tuesday, July 18, we received a message from a concerned city councilor about oil barrels in a body of water adjacent to the West Fitchburg Steamline Trail. The Conservation Commission was notified, and a site walk was performed with a community development and planning staff member. During the site walk, 2 deteriorating barrels halfway submerged in a corner pool of water were noticed. We were able to determine that these barrels have been in the water for a significant amount of time and do not seem to be releasing any oils into the wetlands. There was an excess of organic material in the water, which can come from decaying plants or runoff. To remediate the area, we will defer to DPW for assistance in the removal of the barrels at their earliest convenience. An email went out to DPW on 7/18/23. So have the DPW get those out of the water.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think this is a good practice to submit something that documents that you did those site.
Herlin, those are coming from the office? Okay.
Yeah, I just felt we didn't have a quorum, so there was no minutes.
Right.
Thank you.
But I
think it's
Okay.
I think it's something we should keep on the record so that when people do touch base with us about complaints, we have a reference point.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. The Wallace Civic Center, there was a request for a continuance on their work. And just a side note, that water on that storm, that Sunday storm, I've lived in this area. I walk there every day. I've never seen the water that high as it was. I've never seen the water that high in Putz Pond. That was really amazing to see. There was a beaver dam in there. It held most of the time. Those beavers were doing their best. I don't know that it still has, I think it's been compromised at this point, but it lasted that storm. It was the rest of them that it didn't. Those beavers are something else. Also, there were otters in there recently, too.
Oh, wow, that's
playing around. I don't know that the beavers liked it, but yeah, I love that pond.
I'll say goodbye to it.
Okay. And do we have any updates on 691 Mount Elam Road?
Yes.
Okay.
I received an email from Tim Smith, but just so that we wrap up, Wallace Civic Center, you guys are okay with continuing to the September meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Tim, what are we waiting for? Tim
691.
sent a letter to us all and reported
Yeah.
on
Go ahead, Tim.
691?
Right, yeah, so Mike and I actually met with Mr. Kuba, and first of all, I went and confirmed there is a fast-flowing, strong-flowing stream. There is BVW, and we talked quite a bit with Mr. Kuba. One of the things we really wanted to accomplish is because when Mr. Kuba came before the commission, he was a little bit, he wasn't really clear what the commission was asking of him, and he wasn't really clear on the regulations. And in fact, when I met with him, he talked about, oh, it's 150 feet or is it 300 feet? He wasn't clear on what the regulations were. So I tried very patiently to describe what the requirements were and what the fact that he did have a stream, and if it was an intermittent stream, it would be a 100-foot buffer, but if it was a perennial stream, it would be a 200-foot riverfront area where the Conservation Commission had jurisdiction. And the commission not only had jurisdiction, because he kept saying, well, I'm over like 140 feet away from the stream. I'm 140 feet away from the stream. So I explained that, well, okay, but the commission also has jurisdiction over bordering vegetated wetlands. So you could have a wetland abutting the stream, and that could come much closer to your property, and there's a 100-foot buffer zone to that bordering vegetated wetland. And so I think I helped him understand, but he's still, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Kuba, but he I guess he's got a number of other issues going on with the city, and he didn't seem like he was. He didn't seem very cooperative, although he was very generous in allowing us to walk on his property, and he listened very carefully to what I had to say. Mike, did I characterize the meeting accurately?
Yes, you did, and your letter articulated exactly what you said and what transpired. If I may bring it to the CONSCOM's attention. Well, first of all, Tim, is there a recommendation at the bottom? There is. What does your recommendation say?
Well, so we need to determine the extent of there is a wetland resource out there. We need to determine the extent of the wetland resource. It's likely that he did the pavement work in violation of the act. And it actually, but it's a little bit more of a complex issue than we thought, because the wetlands is on a neighbor's property, so you'd have to get permission from the neighbor to do the soil sampling. So it's a little bit more complex. And then the stream, it would be easy if the stream were shown on the USGS map, then we could say, okay, yeah, it's clearly a perennial stream. It's not on the USGS map, but of course the regs, it doesn't have to be on the USGS map to be a perennial stream. An engineer can look at the watershed that contributes water to the stream and make a determination that it is a perennial stream. So so in a nutshell, there's a little bit more work that needs to be done. But yeah, he should have filed at least an RDA for the work. And quite frankly, he paved a large area of property. He paved his entire backyard, which he's permitted to do. But the issue is now that he's paved like over, I looked on Google Earth, I used they have an area calculator, and it's about a half acre of pavement. And so, and all that water is draining from that pavement, that impervious area, and it drains towards a stream. So the area that looks most like wetlands is kind of he really hasn't formed an intermittent stream yet, but you can see where the water drains off the parking lot and flows towards the stream. In fact, right off the parking lot where the water drains, all sorts of sedges and obligate species of wetlands. It's one of the more wetter areas on that site.
Tim, thank you. And now I take the time to challenge the CONSCOM and Nick Erickson. Two things. 60 days ago, I recommended that he be told to delineate the wetlands. And that's where we are 60 days later. But we have Tim's bill and Tim's recommendation and his observation that could have been handled 60 days ago, but we didn't do it. And Nick, with regard to the 20,000 square feet clearing in the rearage, several months ago, it was your job, our job. It was debatable. You know, I guess you had your plate full, and maybe the CONSCOM wants to take that oversight of land clearing in excess of 20,000. And then I jokingly said, we don't need another job. We got plenty of work. You keep that one. I think the ordinance, if it never stated whose responsibility it was, I think it ended up being yours, and you maybe wanted to share it. I think once and for all, let's determine whose it is, and if it's ours, we can deal with the pavement in that backyard. And if it's yours, let's move on 691 Mount Elam Road with regard to the land clearing and with regard to the RDA. But I think we lost 60 days, and we have nobody here tonight to address it.
Councilor Donnelly, this particular property goes back well beyond 60 days. I met out there with Mike O'Hara and the building commissioner back in 2020. When this first happened, the site was cleared and the applicant, or the property owner rather, put down asphalt regrinds prior to actually paving the site. And the commission, I believe, was made aware at the time of the violation, the fact that it was in excess of 20,000 square foot disturbance, and that it looked like a potential Wetlands Protection Act violation. DPW itself, we focus on public property, the right-of-way, and we have a responsibility to focus on the right-of-way. We don't typically get involved in private property matters. That's why this is such a unique case, because by rights, I should have the ability to go to a property owner that's committed a violation such as this and say, you need to remediate this, and if you don't, we have a problem. But I don't have any legal authority to do that. That falls on Board of Health, Building Department, and you folks. So unless I'm given that legal authority to go onto private property and tell people what they can and cannot do, I'm kind of stuck. And I rely on some assistance from other departments in the city and other boards and commissions. So that's where I'm at with it. Like I said, I went out there with Mr. O'Hara and Mr. Barbadoro several years ago to review this issue. We talked about it. The property owner was supposed to talk to an engineer and get this stuff in the works. And it's taken a few years before other people realized this and actually moved on it. I don't know what the delay has been. I let Mike O'Hara know, and that was kind of the extent of my involvement with it, and I assumed it would proceed from there. I'm glad that we're finally seeing the results of this. This is kind of similar to what we saw up on Sheldon Road with that large property up there. It was reported several years in advance of it being paid attention to by the Conservation Commission. But that's where I'm at with it, and I'm happy to help in any way that I can legally to help address this matter.
We could issue, and should, a violation notice or even an enforcement order. We need to go back and for either filling in a wetland or doing work in a wetland without a notice of intent and require the property owner to delineate his property basically to prove whether it's in the wetland or not.
That's what I said 60 days ago.
Okay,
But did we vote on it?
no.
We have a motion.
You delayed it, and we hired Tim to go out and provide the recommendation 60 days later. I was going to do it for free.
Ralph, we didn't, because Mike is right. We set up the meeting with the homeowner and Tim, and of course, we had no meeting in July, so that's what references Mike's 60 days. But I will make a motion. How does anybody want to prefer to deal with it? Enforcement order or just a violation notice?
If I may interject, I thought we sent him a violation notice.
No enforcement order, there's no order of conditions. Violation notice.
Well, no, or we could do just a notice of a violation.
21st of May of this year.
So on the 21st of May, a violation order was sent?
No,
I'm sorry.
a letter by certified mail was sent to Mr. Kuba. Enforcement order issued on May 18th, 2022. It was just an update. And he did show up to the meetings, but I don't know if that's going to deter you from issuing another notice instead of the enforcement order. A letter has already been sent out. That was my point.
So, Mike, you prefer?
Well, there's no enforcement order.
Correct.
There's no, the violation notice, and he doesn't comply, and then you
Okay.
start hitting.
So, motion to send a violation notice to 691 Mount Elam Road for work done in a wetland without a notice of intent being filed. That is a motion.
We have a second.
Accompanied with a $300 fine for violation. Seconded. He's well aware.
Okay, let's call the roll in favor. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarahfield? Aye. Did you get that? Okay. Thank you for the work you did on that, Mr. Smith. So, Arnhow Road, do we have any update from Arnhow Farm Road?
Herlyn sent her a message on the 17th.
Correct.
And she, I believe, has not responded yet?
And I
Okay.
have called her.
And you have called her, and
Yep.
she's not returned your calls?
Let the
Okay.
record show that Commissioner Christian has recused himself.
Okay.
So
at this point, we are not getting cooperation from the homeowner. We gave her plenty of an opportunity. We tried to schedule a site visit. When we got there, she denied us access. Herlyn helped her fill out a records request so that she can deem with her own attorney that what we're doing is, legal, that we have 3 years, that the violation proceeds with the property, not with the owner, and she's now not cooperating. So now I would issue a violation notice with a fine for filling in a wetland, and at least advise her at this point that that fine can be levied for each day that fill remains in the wetlands. For right now, we'll charge her one $300 fine, but she needs to contact the office, schedule a site visit, and we need to come up with a remediation plan.
Second that sentiment.
Okay, let's see, Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarahfield? Aye. Okay, let's move on to the minutes, folks. Thank you so much for your patience, everyone. I noticed there was some email back and forth about the minutes.
It was just
I'm sorry.
some
Oh, my
minor
goodness.
things.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, there's more on the back. Okay. Fifth Mass Turnpike.
Oh, so we're not doing minutes now?
No, Dr. Baker, I'm sorry. There was something on the back I didn't notice. So let's go to
These
Fifth
are
Mass Turnpike. What's going
certificates
on?
of compliance.
Oh, we need a certificate of compliance.
That's what they're asking for,
Oh,
yes.
okay. Have we determined that they're compliant? What's Fifth
Yeah,
Mass?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
This is Tim. I can speak to this. So I also, when I was out on site at 691, I also, actually I was on site for the other project, the Mad River Solar. And I meet with Mr. Cini, and we went out onto the property. With the last storm, he had some minor erosion where he had placed some stone, but the stone he had placed, it was too small in diameter and it was just washed away. So I requested that he bring in larger stone, like 4 or 6 inch diameter stone, which he's done. And that should be sufficient now and hold back or prevent any further erosion. He did install the water garden that the commission asked him to install. We then took a look at his replication area. The replication area, he did excavate the replication area, and he did restore all the, I think he brought an excavator in to do it, and he restored all of the exposed soils. But the restoration area is the vegetation, it's not vegetated. It doesn't have, it's not 75% vegetated, which is what it would need to be in order for the commission to issue a certificate of compliance. And some sediment had washed into the replication area. So he was going to use hand tools to dig out the sediment in the replication area, and he was going to replant that replication area because a lot of the vegetation got covered up by the sediment. So he's well on his way to getting to completing the project, but the replication area still needs more time. He in our conversations, I haven't seen the documentation he submitted, but in our conversation, I told him he could request a partial certificate of compliance, but that I wasn't willing to make the recommendation to the Conservation Commission that a full certificate of compliance be issued because the replication area is just simply not ready, not complete.
Tim, my discussion with him offered another alternative, and that is issuing a certificate of compliance and withholding X amount of money for the 2-year window of established growth in the replication area. So he's willing to, if he can get an order of conditions, as an alternative to a partial, if he can get one, and we withhold money until the vegetation takes.
Have we done that before?
We've never, the commission has never done it before, but it is something that the commission can entertain.
Oftentimes we give a two-year window, and for an individual not getting their certificate of compliance 2 years later, when they want a sale tomorrow or the next day or 6 months later, it's kind of prohibitive, gets in the way. Just that was an alternative, a partial or a full, and withhold money. And that way, he brought that up.
So he would have to, we're not holding a bond right now on that property, are we? I'm not familiar with this, so.
No, we're not holding a bond. Mike, the other thing I talked to him about is I told him to go talk to wetland plants in Amherst, that they could provide him with fairly large wetland plants that would that he could plant rather than planting. He had planted a conservation seed mix, and rather than waiting for that to take hold, he could just go and buy a lot of more mature plantings and plant them in the replication area. And my sense is that it's the growing season now. He potentially by fall, if he basically not overseeded, but planted, if he did a robust planting, it could be, he could get that 75% coverage by the fall.
So may I just suggest that given that he's already been responsive and you've given him direction, why don't we just let him continue and then come back to us when he's really done?
Yeah, I suspect, Ralph, I know he said he had his units, he had buyers, and I suspect that the attorneys for the buyers are asking for the certificate of compliance.
I see.
So then then we should do a partial for the 2 units that he has buyers for, and then that will still allow us to manage the balance of the property and the restoration that he has to do. Does that sound right, Tim?
Yeah, it's really just the replication that he needs to do at this point in time.
We have an account for money, and he offered that.
Well, the other, I guess then we're not probably prepared tonight to do an order of condition because there's too many questions about what we want to do, that we should contact him at some point, Herlin, and see which of the chosen options is he wanting to do, and then come back.
Okay. Mike? Was the impression that he wanted the condition and a bond? The order
came up with a partial. The developer came up with a hold in escrow. Those are the 2 things I know.
All right, but we should wait until Herlin has an opportunity to speak with him.
Okay.
We can always call a special meeting to manage that if we needed to. We could have it on Zoom if we needed to.
Any of the 3 options are probably acceptable. He just needs to tell us what he is going to do or what he's willing to do, and then we will know what we're working with.
I mean, if the site visits are going to be posted on the 12th, we can also vote on this.
Okay.
If we needed to.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we could discuss that on the 12th. Now we have 155652 579 South Street. Hannigan Engineering continued from 6/7/23 with requested final site revisions.
Herlin, did we get anything back from them that was a list that Mr. O'Hara had recently prepared. He went out and visited the site. They'd asked for an order of condition. There were a few things that still needed to be cleaned up before that could be issued. And if they have not submitted any information that those issues have been resolved, then we probably are not prepared to issue the order of condition.
Correct. I reached out to Bill Hannigan, and I never heard back from him.
Okay, so then that's tabled again.
Okay.
Do we agree to continue that to next month?
Yep.
Now we've got extension permits, 155-691 Westminster Hill Road Bridge.
These folks provided a narrative. It's not too detailed, but basically, there it is.
Madam Chair, I have it. I can read it if we want to, because that's a little bit hard to see. So,
Okay, I have it here too.
yeah, Weston and Sampson provided, they're asking for extending an order of condition for the Westminster Hill Road rehabilitation. On behalf of the City of Fitchburg, Department of Public Works, Weston and Sampson Engineering is requesting a 3-year extension to an existing order of conditions for the Westminster Hill Road Bridge project. The Mass DEP file number is 155-69, and the order of conditions was issued on November 18th, 2020. This request is being submitted because the construction has not begun and we will not be completed by the expiration date of 10/18/23.
Does everybody remember the original order of conditions?
I have it, if you need to view it.
I don't know. I don't know what would change, but
I think the consideration would be that it's been 3 years.
I think in the past.
I'm looking for signatures. If I signed it, I guess I'll sign it again.
Let's see.
I don't recall it.
Yeah, I was not here then.
Madam Chair, can I speak to this?
Certainly, Mr. Erickson, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to point out, so the issue that we've had that's caused the delay in getting this project constructed is getting permission of one of the abutters to the project. In order to complete the construction, we'll need to enter a portion of that abutter's property. All the work is on city property, of course, but there'll be temporary impacts to that abutter. So we've had a heck of a time trying to track down the actual owner of that property. It's owned by a trust, and we kept getting redirected to different attorneys until we were finally able to find the one that had the legal authority to give us the permission to work on this property. So we've been able to do that. We've gotten their signature on the required permitting forms that were submitted to Mass DEP and whatnot, and we plan to move forward with the project at this point, of course, with your permission to extend the due date on the order of conditions. So unfortunately, it's dragged on for years beyond when we would have liked to have had the project constructed. At this point, construction cost estimates are going to be way higher than they would have been 3 years ago. So it's a tough situation all around, and ultimately the city ends up paying the price for this. So it's unfortunate, but that's why Weston Sampson has submitted the request for the extension. Thank you.
Nick, has the property changed hands? It was Reardon, Steve Reardon was the owner and occupant of the land next door.
Yeah, it was the parcel in question was owned by SETA Realty Trust Incorporated, and that's the trust that we were having difficulty tracking down. We got pointed to an attorney who started to be responsive and then went non-responsive for a long time, and it was difficult for us to find the actual attorney that represented the interests of the trust. So luckily we were able to do that, but it took 3 years to get it done. So it's unfortunate all around.
And I guess the reason I didn't recognize it is because we never signed it.
It was during
That was
COVID.
during COVID.
Yeah.
So that was when we were all virtual, and we voted on it. And at that time, under the emergency declaration rules, we could vote on it virtually, and only the chair had to sign.
Very good. Thank you.
So
Have a
motion to approve the
Second.
3-year extension?
We have a second. Let's see, Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Commissioner Christian,
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield, aye. Motion approved to extend for 3 years. Okay, guys, let's deal with these minutes now. We've got the motion and second to accept the minutes of the regular meeting of April 6, 2023. Commissioner Baker.
I move we approve the minutes. But I did offer some comments that I hope will be taken into consideration in making minor revisions to each of the 3 minutes.
Would you like to offer those comments now, Dr. Baker?
Well, one was that one of them, I forget which one of the 3, but it was in my email, referred to the open space recreation plan as going to be completed by September 2020, which obviously that was a typo, must have been 2023. And the other things were common to all 3 minutes. At the bottom it said approved, and it gave a date in June, which clearly I don't think they were approved in June because we're being asked to vote on them today. So those need to get corrected. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield, aye. Motion passes for April 6, 2023. Motion and, can I have a motion and second to accept the minutes of the special meeting of the April 12th, 2023 meeting?
So moved.
I'm sorry, 22?
Second?
22. Okay, Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield? And then, can I have a motion and second to accept the minutes of the regular meeting of May 4th, 2023?
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield? Aye. Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
All right. And lastly, can I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting of the August 2nd, 2023 Fitchburg Conservation Commission? Commissioner Baker, can I have a
Aye.
motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Commissioner Christian,
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield, aye. Thank you, everyone, for your patience tonight. Oh, Jeff Hillman has his hand up.
I do, Commissioner. I apologize. I just had one question. So, with the recent storm, DPW found a culvert that we maintain over on Olin Ave at Page Ave. And with the recent storm, that culvert has become clogged with sediment from runoff. And so we were asking for permission from the board if we could clean and repair the sediment out of that culvert and the inlet. So we were looking for permission from you guys to be able to move forward with doing that so that we can put the culvert back in, or get the culvert back working in correct fashion.
I believe we just adjourned, but
No, I was just going to say, that could fall under an emergency certification that we could approve next month, I think.
Olin and Page.
Do we have to wait till next month? I mean, if there's,
We can open the meeting back up.
or, Mr. Hillman, when are you planning to do that work?
Well, so we've actually jetted a portion of that culvert to try to open it up and alleviate the water flow, but the culvert itself is still about half full of sediment. The sooner we can clear it, the better it would be for the residents in that area.
So how do we issue an emergency?
I think that, as I recall, Mike O'Hara said there was like a blanket emergency certification. Yeah, we're good, and we can vote on it next month. So just put it on the thing next month. But they could still do the work under the emergency certification. There was like a blanket one for the whole storm.
Okay, so I'm just making sure I understand this. They can do the work. We're not holding them up.
No.
We just approved the emergency order that was given next month. Okay.
There you go, Jeff. You got the blessing.
Standard practice. So, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson, for your patience and your time. It's always appreciated.
yes, indeed.
And thank you, everyone, for your commitment to public service.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Okay, good night.